If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon. Can you believe it? It's Friday and we made it as we're looking excitedly for the weekend. Not just because we're going to celebrate Constitution Day come Monday, but because, hey, we get a chance to be a part of another great day. And we invite you to be a part of our discussion. Give us a shout, 949-8837 or 1-800-534-8255. Going to share with you some exciting things that are going to be happening on Monday that you can be a part of. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile. Saving lives today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, you heard that song as I referenced many times. Mr. Lomax used to play it every Monday morning. If I would probably have to venture, if I was a raging man, I would say, oh, probably about 7:42 every Monday morning. He used to go, oh, it's Monday, Monday. And it was with the mamas and the papas, if I remember correctly as well. Well, it's not Monday anymore, but maybe we could talk about Mango Monday. On the phone is a very, very, you know, wonderful lady joining us. Hey, good afternoon, Miss Lydia. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon, Sterling, and good afternoon, listeners. I am well.
All right. You know, I was just thinking as I was trying to somehow not only be jovial, not only try to play with some words, but you know, you have respect for the farmers and the artisans, the retail market presents for Mango Monday. So we had, you know,
Mango Monday.
Mango Monday. Well, mangoes are one of my favorite fruits, and a good Cayman long mango. If you want to make mango jam, maybe the good Cayman round mango. But any mango that is, you know, crossing your palate is a good mango.
Yes, indeed. And on Mango Monday, we want to show you how many different ways, how diverse mangoes are. The varieties, as well as the many, many different things that you can do with mangoes. Things that you haven't even thought of.
I don't know. I'm a pretty creative thinker when it comes to food. Might be anything else, but I don't know. I've even put you know, hot sauce with mango, cayenne with mango, and the only thing that I find that doesn't work well with mango, whole mango, that's chocolate. Two very distinct and separate flavors that are never to be melded. You know, sort of.
Oh, I don't know. I disagree with that. I think if you have a dried mango, and it's a dried green mango, you can dip it in chocolate. If it's a ripe mango, dried ripe mango, you use a dark chocolate to temper the sweetness of the mango.
Yep, dried, but I say that the actual fresh mango, fresh off the seed, it doesn't somehow work. I don't know. Maybe you'd have to, you know, as a fellow foodie, you have to guide us because the mango is a versatile fruit, very nutritious, but just, you know, refreshing, as it were.
Yes. So I'm going to guide you guys. I'm going to tell all of your listeners all about this Mango Monday that we're having on Constitution Day. And it's going to be at the farmers market at the cricket ground from 10 to 4. Now, I just want to emphasize a couple of things. The market has been open since May, and it's usually open 6 days a week. And for this time, you know, we are in strange times. The market has some strict regulations. that they follow and that they maintain. I know that's something that's on the forefront of a lot of people's minds. So we have this market day, which is a regular market day, but the emphasis on this day is on mango. Mango is a star, and we have some local vendors coming along to show the general public what we can do with mangoes. And this was in response to this bumper crop, this wonderful bumper crop of mangoes we were having. But in having a bumper crop and in having it during COVID, what was happening is that a lot of mangoes were wasted, so to speak. And that's a travesty when you see mangoes rotting on the ground. And also the fact that for the time that the market was closed, your farmers, because farmers do something that has a shelf life, a very specific shelf life. Mangoes don't last. They're not built to last. They're built to be consumed fairly quickly. So Mango Monday, the whole idea behind Mango Monday was that let's do something where we encourage people to eat local, shop local, as well as to come and be wowed and be innovative and share in the creativity of not just the farmers, but also your local artisans.
And I appreciate that. And as we go through and then inviting people to celebrate a long weekend and to come out and to maybe for the first time see, some of the incredible ingenious ways the mangoes are being used and tried and the like, and learn more about the importance and support the market. I want to, if you'd allow me at some point before we conclude our discussion today, allow me to ask you two questions. One, what is your favorite mango or even the top three? And then secondly, what is that most ingenious, creative, interesting thing that you have done with mango? Maybe even expound and say your favorite way to enjoy mango, and even the weirdest thing, because it's such a versatile thing. We don't appreciate it, and to see it now, and so maybe at some point we could ask about that.
Okay.
All right.
Favorite mango. Now that's really hard to say in the Cayman Islands, and I'll tell
I,
you why. Cayman has, I would say, over 100 varieties of mangoes. People may not realize how many varieties of mangoes, but the Department of Agriculture did a very, very smart thing, ingenious actually, after Hurricane Ivan, where they got different varieties, but they also encouraged farmers to graft. And so you will find varieties here that you will not find anywhere else. And that's one of the reasons to why we encourage people to talk to your farmers and visit your local farms when you can, because you will learn about mangoes that you haven't before. So if I had to choose, though, that's really, really hard. I do enjoy Namdals, but I also enjoy Frankie. Mr. Smith has one that he's named after himself, the Frankie. I do enjoy that. And I also enjoy a dot. I tend to like my mangoes not stringy. Now, I don't like taking mango out of my teeth, Sterling. It's not fun. You don't want a mango smile.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yes, and in terms of creative things, oh man, I've done so many things with mangoes. Most recently, and I just did a video, if those of you who see my social media, I'm going to release a video of mango coleslaw. And that is, some people put apples in their mangoes, in their coleslaw, but you can also put mangoes instead of that. And I have done mango crumble. It's just so many things. But when you come out, for example, on Monday, we have a lady by the name of Samantha, who is a curl specialist, and she is actually making hair products to treat your hair using overripe mangoes and in some cases the mango seed. We have Cayman Sense, and Miss Angela from Cayman Sense, she is looking at the body and how to use mango to really, the health benefits externally. So mango lotions, mango body scrub, which is really, really nice. We have some young people who started a business, Cayman Organica, and they are doing mango juices that are now dealing with the inside of the body that have health benefits, and you can check them out. We have a business, Sweet Hillary's, who makes amazing mango popsicles. They also have a drink, Agua de Pepino, which is really refreshing. Two very refreshing things at this time. You know, it's so hot. We have Mr. Alvin, who is doing mango ice cream. We have Miss Estella and Sweet I have to pronounce it correctly, Vian, who are doing Filipino desserts like mango floats and so on. We have, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, we have Tomfoodery. They're doing their mango pepper jelly. They're doing amazing mango-based pepper sauces as well, for those of you who like a bit of spice in your life.
Yeah.
And, of course, we have smoothies there with Smoothie World and Zippy's, which is a regular there. Most of these, some of these are regular artisans and farmers at the market. Remember, the market is usually open 6 days a week. But I want to bring something up, and I know this is a little bit of the elephant in the room. The market has very, very strict regulations because, of course, we want people to enjoy the produce and enjoy the products, but we also want people to know that we're mindful of their safety in this time. And we also need your support in that way. So make sure that you have to wear your mask. There are only 25 people allowed in the market at a time, and social distances that will be maintained. When you come in, there'll be a security guard there. You're going to get your hands sanitized, okay? And you also need to be a little bit patient, right, in terms of trying to get everybody to come around and sample. We also have a very, very innovative catering business there, and it's a young lady by the name of Jessica. She has a business, Taste is Life, and she does amazing sweet and savory things with mangoes. So it's not all sweet that you're going to get. It's not all food that you're going to get. You're going to get a range of things. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, when we come back from the break, right, maybe we can ask you a couple of things, including, how can people, become a part of perhaps I would call it the celebration and exhibition on Monday, certainly as the patrons, we can come and partake, come away with some great, products and the like. But is it too late for people to sign up if they want to be a part? How can they become involved, perhaps with future endeavors? Maybe talk more about it and to celebrate the bounty that we have, within our society. So maybe we can talk a bit about that, and then you can tell us some more about some of the vendors, including, Powder Monkey. Perhaps we can chat about that for a bit. All right, we're gonna pause. Take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue discussion. Mango Monday is coming up on Constitution Day, and we want to tell you how to be, be there and be celebrating what we have. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Mommy, have you been taking your medication?
No, I think I forgot to pick it up.
Your doctor prescribed it for a reason, so you should be taking it regularly.
I know, TD. Thanks for the reminder.
If you are elderly or vulnerable and need your prescription delivered to your home, contact the Health Services Authority Pharmacy at 949-8600. Taking your medication when prescribed is important to your health, and your health matters to us. For more information about our pharmacy hours and locations, visit hsa.ky or call 949-8600.
Dealing with this outbreak can be overwhelming, especially for those of us with mental health challenges. As a teenager, you can practice mindfulness by meditating or continuing to take your prescribed medication. You can also protect your mental health outlook during the global pandemic by limiting the amount of social media and news you watch, staying active, and resting. If you or a friend is coping with mental health challenges, call the Mental Health Helpline for free and confidential advice at 1-800 1-800-534-MIND. That's 1-800-534-6463. Weekdays from 9 to 5. For the latest information, visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
This weekend, we're celebrating Constitutional Day here in the Cayman Islands. So tune in on Saturday night at 8 o'clock on Breeze Radio for your yesteryear musicals. Constitution Day edition. There'll be music and narrative reflective of and in celebration. That's Saturday night on Breeze Radio, 105.3 FM in Grand Cayman and 91.9 FM in Caymanbrack and Little Cayman. Saturday night, 8 o'clock, your yesteryear musical on Breeze Radio.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. We got a chance to speak to Ms. Lydia. Reminding you that there's an invitation extended to join us on Constitution Day for Mango Monday. So, Ms. Lydia, as we get back into the discussion, before we ask some of the substantive questions, again, what is, Mango Monday? Where is it? Just quickly remind our listeners, if for those who maybe just joined us.
Okay, so Mango Monday is a celebration of all things mango, and it is at the Farmers Market at the Cricket Ground this Monday from 10 to 4 p.m. And I just want to emphasize, though, it is also free admission. The market never charges anything for you to come in and visit the market.
Okay, so it's free.
Yes.
Come on in and enjoy what we have. All right, perfect. And then if there are potentially vendors out there who might say, hey, could I get involved? Is there a process? Is it too late for this time around?
Well, for this time around, first of all, the board and the managers there, Miss Joan. Hi, Miss Joan. The precautions, one of the precautions that they did, and in order to maintain social distances, they limited the amount of stalls that could be in the market at a specific time. And this is like a taste of mango, a taste. And so at this point, we are not taking on any more vendors, any more farmers or artisans. However, if you are interested in having a stall or a booth at the market on one of the other days, right, or having something there regularly, you can contact Ms. Joan at 525-9354. That number again is 525-9354. She's the manager there. Or you can just stop by the farmers market.
Okay. All right. Excellent. I mean, as you shared, maybe many don't really appreciate the agricultural opportunities that exist here. Perhaps we may have bought into what I believe is the false narrative that, we can't grow much here, or we can't do this. And we are, almost daily basis now, amazed and surprised at the bounty that comes and the variety, just as you shared, the mangoes that are here. There's something that you had referenced to us in a previous conversation way back when. I know you're not just a foodie and agriculture enthusiast, but the mango doesn't fall far from the leaf, as they say, right? This skin to seed concept, what is that exactly?
So it's a concept that I've been thinking on for some time, and it is within the food world. In regards to meat, there is a skin to tail concept, and that concept is nothing waste. So you will use every part of the animal, and likewise, skin to seed is you're going to use ways that you can use every part of the fruit. And, there are many cultures in the world who've been doing this for generations, for ages. And also that they're able to use the fruit at every stage. So whether it is green, you think you can do. I know I'm, green mango in season salt is a delicacy here for school children especially. But also when the mangoes start to be overripe, a lot of people, or they're soft or they're bruised, some people may want to throw it away. But Mango Monday, we want to show you, you don't have to throw it away. There are ways that you can use them, but more importantly, you have people that are using them. So if you have these products, so you have a mango tree in your yard and you have mangoes falling to the ground, maybe contact one of these businesses or one of these vendors and say, and discuss it so that, there's always, there's less wastage. You have people being innovative with what they're doing, and more people are coming up with ideas and so on. So Skin to Seed is using every part of the fruit at every stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I commend you for encouraging us, because I think one of the things that, one of the adages I think we may be very familiar, waste not, want not, right?
Yes.
You know, for the Caymanians and those of us who may have been here longer, especially the younger ones amongst us, we think back to our parents, our grandparents, even our great grandparents when it came to, say, the coconut, the versatility of the coconut, the same concept. We used the husk for the floors, for the bottoms. We used everything, there in order to utilize it in its most effective way for honestly anything and everything conceivable. So with the mango, the versatility in itself, just the enjoyment of friends and family at the beach on a summer day, eating the mango itself, that bonding. But to take it now and look at it for, as you said, for drink, for food. Someone messaged in when you were talking about using it in coleslaw instead of apple. Um, this person, and again, I don't think it's intended to know who the person is, but it doesn't matter. So if I said he, I'll probably be, but he or she said, add it to their ceviche. Slice the mango and put it in the ceviche. Um, Food that more of us are perhaps become accustomed to in recent times, but mango and ceviche. I almost wanted to respond back and go, do you use the green, the ripe, or this is a term, full, right? Full mango?
Full mango, yes, but you can use either one. And so what I'm doing, my business on Monday, Powder Monkey, so we are actually using it in a savory application where we're going to do, because we do plantain chips, right? And this is how I got to know a lot of the farmers on island. We're sourcing a set of my ingredients from different farmers around. But we're looking at a complement for the chips. And one of the things I came up with is why not do like a curry chicken salad, but put mango in that, a ripe mango, so you have that sweet and savory combination that's absolutely delicious. So we're going to do that. We're going to do our marshmallows. We're going to do a mango marshmallows. I'm playing around with the idea if I'm going to throw some goat cheeses there with the marshmallows, just because mango and goat cheese, that's delicious. So yeah, that it is when you get out there and you're talking to people and you're interacting with people that you begin to see. I always say this: Cayman's greatest resource are the people who are here. And you know this because you are out into the communities. You're speaking and interacting with people constantly on your show. And as you talk to people, you realize there's so many hidden talents here. You don't even realize what people are capable of or what people are doing. And so this is a way for people to see that. What happens here is sometimes you get pockets. So, you may have people who are interested in a particular application for the mango, and so they know about things that are happening or they know what other people are doing. But this is to kind of connect those pockets because you want that people know what is available, especially now you can't travel overseas, especially now you can't, shop online and get it as quickly. So,
especially.
So it is really, really good to know what people are doing. It's good to get to know your farmers, get to know where your food is being grown, and especially now mental health is something that that's on the lips of a lot of people. And you're talking about getting your fresh fruits and vegetables eating healthy, but also sometimes enjoying a treat.
Yeah, man.
So,
No, seriously, man. And this is why I was, mindful to ask you at the outset because I think the more we have these engagements, these interactions, and these opportunities, we are, perhaps not only being encouraged by it, but we talk about in education the 3 R's, and I keep saying when it comes to our people, as you stated earlier, I'm reminded of the 3 R's that I've seen, the resourcefulness, their resilience, but the resolve and that entrepreneurial spirit that is somehow within this society. Take the mango, for instance, whether it's our mothers and grandmothers who now come from an era where they don't like, to waste and waste not, want not. They would always take the mango and make the jams, the jellies. They would do something with it. Now that we have refrigeration, they didn't have that when they were growing up. They would take it and put it in such a way, not just to only to preserve it, to use later on, but now to freeze it, to have it throughout the year in some concoction, some recipe or the like. But
right. And I'm really glad you brought that up because I got contacted a couple of days ago, and I must tell people that this is something that was put together really quickly. It was in response to what was happening, and I have to thank the Farmers Market Board, and I have to thank the manager for doing that and for seeing the necessity of it. But I got a call a couple of days ago from some young people who are doing amazing, and that's organic man, and doing amazing juices. And what took me back was just the entrepreneurial spirit that they had and the creativity of the things that they were coming up with. And so we want to encourage people to, give them a try. This Monday at the market, 10 to 4, we put it long enough, space out so that people, we don't want to have lots of people, right? We want to have where, you can take your time and come. Everybody doesn't have to come at 10 o'clock. But again, we want to remind people that 25 people are in the market at a time. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be a little bit patient with that, and you have to make sure that, that we're all maintaining our social distance. Very, very important. So in these times, whoever thought, I feel it for people who are huggers,
Danny Coleman must be doing it really difficult.
Yes. Some people must be going through hugging withdrawal. But we want everybody to be safe, and we need your support and your cooperation. There, make sure you wear your
But
mask.
I think this is going to be mindful of everything, and as you shared, I was in my mind just having a quick jest. This COVID-19, the 19 must be standing for the amount of pounds we might be careful we don't put on, but then we can try the mango season because if we've been fortunate to get a taste of mangoes, I had a few friends who have found a way to drop me one or two. And it was the weirdest thing, they come and they place it in such a way as if they're putting down something and then they run away and then you come out and you collect it. Then there's some friends who are, just saw a good one yesterday who said, hey, maybe early next week, I can stop by and drop for you. So people are willing to share, and on Monday they can come out and experience for themselves that mango is versatile. And
exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, it speaks to what a society can be and should be if it's willing to take the time to sort of reflect on what it is and maybe what it was and where it's going. Not just politics, whether we find it in church or school or in or offices or the like, but the societal values. And when, as you shared earlier, the fact that you have some mangoes that maybe a few blemish spots or they may have dropped and are a bit soft. Not saying to people to use something that is no longer usable because we didn't get to it in time or some other animal got to it before we did. They have to eat too, but don't throw it away because there is a little rub against the tree and then it looks a little bit burnt on one side from the sun or whatever the notion is. Hey, it's still good, man. Thank God for it. It's a blessing that He's provided.
Yeah, and more importantly, a reminder again, the market is open 6 days a week. And you have a number of farmers out there, and you're going to meet some of them on Monday, where you have like Garnett's Farm and Solomon's Farm, Lucas Farm, Zippy's, Dell, Willie's Farm. You have a number of farmers out there, and they are very, very knowledgeable. Even though it may not be the time for you to stand up and have a long conversation, you have to get your goods and you have to move, because you have to be mindful of, other people there coming and wanting to get some stuff as well. But you can get their contact information. You can visit them on different days as well, throughout the week and on the weekends. And they're very, very knowledgeable. They are very, very helpful. I find that because I frequent the market. And we have on other days you will have other farmers there as well. So it is just getting to know who is out there, what is available to us, and we want to do it in a safe way. We want to do it in a way that is supportive of the local businesses and what is here, and a way to get to know other people and other things and cultures. I like Miss Estella. I love Filipino desserts. I have to tell you that it's one of my favorites. And they do really amazing things with cassava. And so you have Miss Estella out there in Sweet Viands, and they're going to be doing something called a mango float, which I'm really looking forward to trying.
Well, we have just a quick break to take. Maybe we'll come back. You can conclude us and share again a reminder. But we have a question we want to ask you now to see when we get an answer when we come back. Will there also be mango cheesecake or mango wine on?
Okay.
So, we're asking that question. We're going to get some more information. So rejoin us right after the break. Ms. Lydia will be with us for a few more minutes, and then 1 o'clock the news, and then hey, some other good things. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Green Turtle. Modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM from 7:30 to 9 a.m. for Cayman's News Straight Talk Morning Show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record. Brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
And just to remind you, Monday is a holiday, so for the record, we'll be back on Wednesday morning at 7:30. Travel between the 3 Cayman Islands remains restricted until further notice. Persons may only travel between Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac, and Little Cayman to provide essential services or for emergency medical purposes. Persons traveling between any of the 3 islands may do this by contacting BRAC Travel at gov.ky with the details of their proposed travel, including purpose of visit, length of stay, accommodations, etc. Applications will be processed on a case-by-case basis. All individuals traveling to the sister islands from Grand Cayman must undergo a 14-day mandatory isolation period at a government facility. They will be tested on the 15th day, and direct transportation to the airport will be arranged if they have a negative result.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful opportunity to remind your listeners that, hey, come Monday, Constitution Day, you can go at the market particular grounds for Mango Monday. And as Miss Lydia shares with us, really appreciate a quick reminder and an invitation again. But we had a question: mango cheesecake, mango wine? Is it the wine that you dance to or the wine that you drink that makes you dance? I'm not sure. Which one.
I know that mango wine sounds really interesting, but that will not be at the farmers market because it is alcohol. And
Okay.
so, yes, no alcoholic beverages there. Mango cheesecake, you might find that. I do know that Sweet Hillary's is doing a mango panna cotta. I don't know if the person has tried a mango panna cotta, a mango coconut panna cotta, but that is absolutely delicious. And if they don't get their mango cheesecake, they can always quench their thirst with a mango smoothie from Smoothie World. She makes
So I
really
need to hang
good
out with you and
smoothies.
Anakin.
Yes. So there's going to be something there that that you can come and pique your interest in and see and taste. Just come with an open mind.
Yeah, man. That's the thing, food is something that I find to be, and I deliberately use the word fulfilling. And not just the consumption of it, but the preparation and the sharing and the celebration. You think of breaking bread, and I'm mindful of the time, and I think many of us who are around food are always very, very conscious of how hygienic we are in
Yes.
preparing and presenting the food. In this time, there are other considerations, but for those people who normally, at least in my presence, in my circle, they're very, very conscious and considerate just by nature. You wash your hands between stations, but food is to be shared and celebrated. You pass the plate so that everybody can partake. And
Hmm.
come Monday, you may be surprised.
Yes. And our vendors that are handling food are doing that with the strict adherence to food handling guidelines. And then on top of that, you have your food handling guidelines, but then you're even more cautious because there are the COVID regulations and guidelines. So we're going to
Yeah.
work together on this. So the farmers, the artisans, and the public, the consumers, we work together on this to make sure that
Hmm.
everything moves smoothly and everyone is safe,
Hmm.
and everyone is still able to enjoy themselves and, um, take part. You're not able to linger and have the conversations. And I mean, I love talking to my consumers. I love talking to the people who buy my product because, that's how I grow.
Hmm.
As a business, that's how I grow. I get the feedback, I get ideas, and it is just a really good conversation. I mean, I've been fortunate. I've had some of my same customers. 4 years in business, I've had the same customers, and to me, that's an amazing blessing, to be able to keep those customers. And I'm hoping that everyone there will be able to get new customers as well. Those of you who've never been to the market, you come and have and see what is there and see the possibilities as well. Don't forget your
So
mask.
that's this Monday. Your mask,
But,
yep.
come.
What? 10 a.m. this Monday, right? Till
10
4?
a.m. 10 a.m. For those of you who are, and I'm saying that, those of you who are early birds, 10 a.m. Those of you who are, those of you, because it is a public holiday, and I know what it is, to want to sleep in and so on. Um, we spread the time out so that we don't have large groups of people, and so it goes until 4 p.m. Yes.
Free admission, and people will be
The
able to come and
market, sorry,
sample as well as
the
right?
market never charges. The
Yeah,
market
yeah.
never charges.
Yep.
You come in.
Right.
Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah. Although it's free admission, the people will come and sample, but also make some purchases as well, and enjoy a wonderful array of many selections. Right. So they come and experience it and be inspired.
Yes, indeed. And we really appreciate you having us on board, and we would like to thank the board at the farmers market and thank the manager there for coming along and allowing, because I have my booth there. Powder Monkey is there. Well, before COVID, we would be there the first and last Saturdays of the month. But we are a part of the market, so it's just good to see this initiative, to see us coming together and creating opportunities.
Very excited, and as we celebrate and encourage others to look at agriculture and the entrepreneurial spirit and to leverage the resources and the talent in a sustainable, healthy way. Excellent, man. Congratulations again on the initiative. Maybe another resounding success. Let us know we can continue to partner with you. So enjoy your weekend and let Monday be even more of a blessed day. So good luck and enjoy and have fun.
All right. Thank you, listeners, and thank you, Sterling.
You're most welcome. All right, Monday, Mango Monday, the market or the cricket grounds. And we're going to pause and take a break. But as you go about your weekend safely and looking for things between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., just swing by at the market by cricket grounds. Some of us use Caldor Culture Grounds, some of us know where they play cricket. The wonderful airport is right there. You see all the private jets flying in. Maybe like some of us, love the scent and the smell of the jet fuel and the sound and the look of the planes as they overhead. Yeah, another way to see other people. All right, when we come back, we're gonna have some open line. We want you to call and share a thought with us, and maybe ask something that causes us to be provoked to thought. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man.
It's only two species that we have here on the island.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio K-Man's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Health Services Authority and the Public Health Department is advising the public that the childhood immunization program will resume starting this month with an island-wide campaign across all districts in the Cayman Islands. This initiative is organized to reduce the backlog of missed immunizations following the brief suspension of some childhood immunization services due to the government's stay-at-home and shelter-in-place orders over the past 3 months. Good afternoon. I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. The Washington Redskins American football team will review its name after demands from major sponsors. Its headline sponsor, FedEx, joined a fresh wave of calls to scrap a team moniker long criticized as racist. The Washington, D.C.-based team has faced years of pressure over a name seen as offensive to Native Americans. The latest calls come amid a fresh focus on racism sparked by worldwide protests. FedEx made the request at the order of its own investors. And a white husband and wife have been charged after the woman pulled a gun on a black mother and her children during a confrontation in a car park. Footage of the incident in Orion Township near Detroit has been viewed millions of times on social media. It shows Jillian Wusenberg pointing the cocked gun and shouting, "Get away." That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio K-Man on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio K-Man app or log on to our website, radiokman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Green Turtle.
And welcome back. Hey, we live in a land of the turtle, they say. We see it swimming off West Bay many times. But hey, why don't you call and give us your perspective? It's open line. The briefing is going to be at 2 o'clock or thereabouts. And God's willing, when it happens, we're going to take it to you so you don't miss a beat. But between now and then, let's interact and engage. Let's share with each other and maybe cause some to feel confident in their own thought process. Perhaps some to be, as we might have heard in church sometimes, convicted, as it were, not before any judicial court that results in a sentencing, but to get a sense that their spirit is quickened and that they can, you know, perhaps step up. What do they say? Lead, follow, get out of the way. This is a wonderful time, despite all that has happened and all of the conjecture, speculation, the conflicting and confusing information that we may find, perhaps even the added pressure and stresses that we may be experiencing. But if we can draw closer together with a genuine intent to try to help not just ourselves and each other, but to position, the country, the society, the populace for better, not just more, not just, greater wealth at others' expenses, but for better. I say that as I reflect on unscheduled, unexpected conversation earlier today. Some individuals were talking. I got a message to join the conversation. They quickly brought me up to speed, and the quote unquote argument, not a heated, sort of unintelligible discussion, but an argument. Someone was saying, look around what is happening. The concerns that many people are having with respect to what's going to happen when the children return to school, whether here on island, whether they're going off to boarding school to continue their sort of secondary education, whether they're going off to start the tertiary education or going back for their final year or their second year, or as the case may be. Perhaps they were considering postgraduate studies. There were even some individuals, as related to me, who had everything in place to relocate to another country in Europe, North America, sometimes even in the region, just for a period of time to give the family an opportunity to embrace another part of its heritage or to experience another culture. As one fellow said, he said simply, they were making a conscious decision as a family, given the age of the children, that education is more than just about what they're teaching them in their homes or what they're learning at the schools. It's perhaps an opportunity to travel, and they had made significant plans and commitments that this year that's what they would have done. And as they were almost about to embark on that sort of adventure, as he puts it, these things started to transpire, and they realized, whoa, that's not going to happen. It reminds us that sometimes it's the plans of men, but it always isn't. The steps are not always ordered accordingly. So, where is your perspective? As I share that, it isn't meant to be pensive, reflective, nor philosophical, but it's a practical approach of our appreciation that we are now living in a changed time. Is it going to be this constantly confused, conflicted, and for many, almost to a point where they feel that they no longer have any sense of control or direction over their own steps? For many of us, we're accused, by friends and family of being control freaks. We wouldn't be as afraid of flying or going on a boat if we were at the helm, in the cockpit, as it were. Seated somewhere at the back of the bus, we probably don't feel as comfortable as if we were driving. Well, where is that in your perspective? And then with all that is happening, we're seeing many who are able to look at what is transpiring and find ways to, in a very, very tangible and economic, way, monetize and capitalize significantly on what is happening, bringing a new product to market, perhaps offering a reinvented service, perhaps even extorting a higher price simply because, hey, they can. Then there are some, who will be accused of being very sinister and have, a particular agenda to orchestrate certain outcomes because, well, again, it gives them a greater sense of authority and delight. But then what about, the 99.999% of the remaining populace? Could we not work in tandem to make it, what is it, safer, stronger, healthier, more secure, stable society? And if so, well, what do we do? Can we have arguments and differences of opinions without necessarily it resorting into something vitriolic, acrimonious, or otherwise divisive, or just because there's dissent doesn't mean there has to be discord. Or is it synonymous? Well, what do you think? 8949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. As many have shared, this is a weekend that ordinarily we would probably have looked with great expectation simply because on our calendar here in Cayman, it is the last public holiday until all the way in November. But it's only, not just the distance between, the next holiday and now, but the fact of what this holiday would normally represent. Is it going to be an even more special celebration because of the time in which we live? Is it going to be for some, oh, it's another long weekend? Every day has felt like a long weekend. Or are we going to look at it and say, you know what? We got health and strength. We got an obligation. It's incumbent upon us to not only appreciate and partake of what is before us, but as we perhaps may again look at the excellent documentary of the life of Miss Lila Ross Shire and appreciating the benevolence, the very charitable, philanthropic gifting of the Scots to the country, the wonderful work of Baderawi of Awesome Productions, and equally the many who've contributed, who've been willing to go on camera and to share their sentiments. Are we going to look at this song and life and take a page and say, listen, we can, we should, we must, we have to, especially in this time? Well, what will we do? And what saith you? Well, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. I say that and offer up another side of the same coin, sadly. They say there are many sides to this a story, yours, mine, and the truth. Well, a very brief conversation sparked because I believe the lady had, as she put it, a rather unexpected and unpleasant experience on our roads. I suspect it was today, but it might have been early in the week. She did say, and I did read that, and I got kind of, I wasn't sure. Was she talking about early today? Is that why she's calling, or was it early in the week? And I didn't have the heart to ask for clarification, as I thought that would do a disservice. But the reason why I stress that is simple. We were not long ago, just very much like the few minutes following Hurricane Ivan, we saw that there was commonality amongst our people. So for a few weeks, because of the measures enacted by the government, we were restricted in our movements and there was very little traffic on the roads. We were finding a way to get to and fro when we were, in the words of the Premier, released. And in that time, people found time for themselves and their families. They found time to exercise and to gain a sense of physical movement and improve their physical health. Many were also very conscious that they were on a whirlwind tour, not really getting much done, but certainly causing potential injury to their mental health and well-being, their social relationships. They were seeing people, but never really appreciating, not engaging and interacting. And so for a short time, both of us were out and about walking. Not only because we had time, but because we felt that it was relatively safer to do so. So this latest experience has the unfortunate reminder that on the roads, not only are we driving with less care and attention, less consideration and caution, but we're putting ourselves and others at risk. So maybe as we consider that, we could look at where we are and reflect individually. Well, why are we once again back to maybe worse than we were before? Because are we trying to make up for lost time, lost income? Are we now able to look and realize that we don't have to be out and about every day, all day, can we find time to still exercise, still spend time with the families? Do we even value the importance of that? Is it that we were only doing that because we felt confined, as we were in many instances, and now that we're not, we're out and about just to be out and about, but not necessarily in a productive, considerate, careful manner? Well, share with us 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255 and give us your perspective on what you think uh, could be the Cayman of tomorrow. Now, in the conversation earlier today, a number of the participants, and it's one of those sort of discussions where it's orchestrated, I guess, similar to those workshops that we may have attended. The breakout session, somewhat is, for want of a better word, facilitates people engage. It's not terribly the large group, as in the auditorium. You're in a smaller room, sort of that picture, and you go around the table and you seat it in a way where you get a chance to engage and bounce ideas off each other and feed from the discussion. Albeit being done electronically, and not everybody is able to, very, very clearly see and hear everybody else, but you get a chance to participate. And one individual kept questioning, well, why should we not push for a population that is 150 to 200,000? Why should we not have a society where the buildings are more than 10 stories? Why not 100 stories? Why have a limit at all on restrictions of buildings, whether it's a commercial building or whether it's a residential building, whether it's your own private residence? Why should it be limited to X feet or X stories? If you can afford to build it, if it can be safely engineered, then why not? Now, many would quickly say, well, the infrastructure. You build a building that is 100 stories, as an example. Well, how do you, safely ensure, that occupants are in that building and can move about? How do you provide the necessary support services, including the parking and the like? Would you have a 100-story building of retail offices, restaurants, and everything else, but an equally 100-story car park next to it to accommodate the people using the building? If it's a beach sort of front property for hotel or condominium or what have you, well, it's less footprint perhaps, but when those people come out of the building to go on the beach, will it become an unpleasant or a less than pleasant experience? And then the sort of counter to that, someone questioned, well, why do you want to do that? Look around the rest of the world. Some places we believe to be unsightly from the perspective of the skyline. Is that what we want here? And doing those things, is there sufficient consideration for the cost, the social costs, the mixing of all of these things in a way that happens almost overnight? Would that potentially lead to greater discord and disharmony amongst the people? Well, your thoughts. 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. And then the other point that I sort of asked to relay had to do very much, with the notion of how we're going to be building social wealth and how we're going to be looking at some of the things going forward. But as I offer that perspective, let me share with you one of our listeners' perspective to the last comment, and I'll read it as it said. So I don't think buildings, should be taller than a fireman's arms. If a building is out of the reach of fire rescue, it's too tall. And I appreciate our listener sharing that, because that was immediate comments that were shared. Well, what is the capacity of our fire brigade? How tall can the ladders reach? What sort of provisions do we have in place that should something happen, not only a fire but some other mishap in the building? How quickly and safely can we get the occupants out and get the rescue personnel in to address the issue? Now, a 10-story building for many of us is high. For some of us, if it's 1,000 feet high, it's still not high enough. Maybe because of our egos as architects, engineers, developers, or what have you. There are some who would like to put it on their resume. They were the political directorate, they were the planning body that approved it, they were the bank that financed it, to the built it, whatever it is, because it can look good. It can bring award and recognition internationally. But that too shall pass. What is your thought? Is arbitrary restriction on heights something that we should rescind, or should we make sure that it's seriously enforced? Now, as you think of that, try to call. Susan is right there, and she is more than gracious to patch your call through 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, if you remind me, I want to share the second comment in relation to, government's expenditures on certain things, and the question was in relation to prisons and the like. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
The Toyota-thon 2020 event is going on now at Vamped Motors. Get our lowest prices of the year on a great selection of our most popular Toyotas, with big savings on the new CHR Hybrid, the 7-seater Rush, the adventurous RAV4, the rugged Hilux truck, and more. You can drive home an amazing deal. Save up to $5,000. Take the full discount, get cash back, upgrade your vehicle with your savings. It's all your choice during our huge Toyota-thon sales event going on through July. Don't miss out. Come to Vamped Motors for your new Toyota. Let's go places.
Green Turtle. Modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
The Economics and Statistics Office are currently conducting the annual business surveys. The surveys seek to measure the performance of all local industries. Survey forms for this year are mailed or emailed to all entities operating in the Cayman Islands. The business surveys are confidential under the Statistics Law and are exempt from the Freedom of Information Law. Your response matters. Do your part. Fill out and return your survey forms to the Economics and Statistics Office. For assistance in filling out the forms or for more information, visit eso.ky or call 525-8565 or 325-6652.
Attention parents and guardians. Don't forget that registration for students enrolling in or transferring to government schools for the 2020-21 school year closes on Friday, June 26. To register, please email edu.registration@gov.ky or call Mr. James Watler at 244-1841 or 916-3779. Or find the registration link on Facebook at Education Cayman.
This weekend, we're celebrating Constitutional Day here in the Cayman Islands. So tune in on Saturday night at 8 o'clock on Breeze Radio for your yesteryear musicals. Constitution Day edition. There'll be music and narrative reflective of and in celebration. That's Saturday night on Breeze Radio, 105.3 FM in Grand Cayman and 91.9 FM in Kimmenbrack and Little Cayman. Saturday night, 8 o'clock, your yesteryear musical on Breeze Radio.
Radio Cayman News.
We really do need to be disciplined and continue adopting the good habits of social distancing.
Having internet access at this time is more critical than ever.
Travel Time will be tasked with coordinating the return of Caymanians, permanent residents and work permit holders to the Cayman Islands.
Officers respond to a stabbing Friday night in Northside.
Radio Cayman, your official source for Cayman's COVID-19 response. Hear it here first.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. The briefing is scheduled for 2 p.m. thereabouts, so we're going to, God's willing, take that to you live when it transpires so you can be informed. We invite you now for some open line to share your thoughts with us. As we were going to the break, we shared that in a discussion earlier, some individuals were questioning, the social and physical development, the infrastructure of governments for its society. A comment was said, well, what happens on buildings of any height, residential, commercial, it doesn't really matter. Hotels and hospitality, if you can build it, well, go right ahead. And one other sort of a comment was that, well, if you build these things, how do you support the sort of surrounding infrastructure, the traffic, the parking, the accommodation of other ancillary services, and even the safety of the occupants should something untoward transpire. Well, another comment had to do with, well, we've often heard the need to build a new prison, as it were, a modern, more secure prison. It's been rumored and alleged that these things can cost tens of millions of dollars. So would that expenditure be justified? Would it be more appropriate to utilize the funds in a different way, not just to prevent, but perhaps instead of incarcerating, maybe spent on rehabilitating? One individual said, well, could we look at other jurisdictions, Norway as an example, see how other jurisdictions deal with prison? Sadly, we look to the US and perhaps to an extent the UK, but the US, and as this individual shared, and see a prison system that is perceived to be primarily about incarcerating perhaps a particular segment of society and using that as a way to make incredible amount of money for those who operate the prison systems. And if it isn't profitable, at the very least, it's costing taxpayers a lot of money to house people. Now, no one, I believe, said, suggested, implied, and I certainly don't wish to give that impression otherwise, that people should not be punished for their offenses and sanctioned accordingly. But as was the sort of general consensus as I listened, the notion that if, in the Cayman context anyway, we say, well, 60,000 to 75,000 a year to house a prisoner, but we spend, a fraction of that on education per student. Is that money well spent? I want to elaborate perhaps more on that, but let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for calling.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
You're an old sage this afternoon. You're waxing eloquent, man.
Wow, well, thank you for sending me the notes.
Philosophical, man. You want me to put down my aggression a little bit, man? You're hitting the wrong chord here with me. I want to calm down. I don't like to be calm.
Okay, well, you go right ahead, and I will honestly and objectively listen to what you have to share.
No, I don't. I'm not listening to. I'm just saying you're very philosophical today. I'm digging it.
All right, well, thank you.
Going along with the groove. Yeah, continue.
Listen, thanks, and I appreciate that. It's encouraging. I'm hopeful that people will not only continue to share as they have over the years, and I hope I pray I never betray the confidences. I'm always mindful that when people say something, I get their permission to relate. Not always that they want me to say, but John said this, or Mary said that, or Peter or Sue, whoever, but just to get their comments. Because I think in our society,
Yeah, out in the public domain. Yeah.
yeah, people are so, I don't want to say the word afraid, but they're very cautious and conscious that one, if they say something, that they'll be somehow labeled as having that view, or victimized, or intimidated, or frustrated, or something else. But many times recently, it's that they're not worried about that. You know what? I'm a bigger boy than that. My skin's thicker than that. It's that the message isn't heard because they're too busy paying attention to the messenger. Oh, you know what John said about this thing, and then they dismissed it. John said, you know what we should do? We should start more, agriculture initiatives so that we can feed our people. A very wonderful idea that everybody would agree with, but because John said it, oh boy, that's the stupidest thing in the world. And I think we want to get away from that. So with that, as we wax poetically, as we become pensive and reflective, how can we engage more people? And I thank you for sharing that encouraging word. How can we engage more of our people to, you know what, hold each other to account, take each other to task, to dig into what is being said, and let's get to something better.
Well, I would say this to you. I hear what you're saying. I believe I understand what you're saying. But we have to be Caymanians first to want to get where you're leading right now. We have to be Caymanians first, and we don't always Caymanians don't always wake up every day being who they say they are. Some days we shift, we jump the rope ever so often.
Jack of both sides.
Oh God!
You said that.
Right there, you hit the nerve. Yep. Some days we're not on the same side that we were yesterday, and I think we know that we lack in that way. So Caymanians are very easy to discourage, and they are very difficult to motivate. So, but I'm trying not to negatively affect the flow. But you continue. Someone might join the conversation. You go on with it, baby. Go on. But I'm just telling you, it will be hard to motivate, including myself.
Okay, well, I take that on board, and I wonder sometimes if that is, part of the challenge in our society, including in our education system, including in our schools, our football fields, and sports in general, where we somehow miss the mark as teachers, parents, even as coaches, in saying, I think, partly mistakenly,
Mr.
when
Sterling,
we say, yes, ma'am.
since I'm still here because you won't stop talking to me, why is that we missing the mark in all of these areas? I mean, these essential. Let's use the word that bantering about right now. The essential areas of life development and growth. Why are we missing the mark? And you just said so. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can I share with you?
Why is the mark being missed? Let's say, why is the mark being missed so regularly?
Okay, Ms. Susan,
I got one
I want
heck
to be
of a
respectful
story
to our
here, but I
folks.
can't say it
I
on
can
air.
answer that to you based on what I've distilled in recent weeks, specifically, because of that question. If you want to hang on, I'll answer it, and we can engage, if you wish, if to hang up.
I don't want to engage. I got a story and my mouth is big, it might slip out. I gotta listen
No.
to you on the radio.
All right. Well, I'll say what I think may be part of the issue. All right, but thank you for your encouraging words, and I certainly
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We're going to pause, take a short break. When we come back, the question was asked. Let me proffer an answer. What would it be? Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Bip! Messaging made simple. Keep the good times going, even when you're social distancing. Message, call, or video chat with friends, family, co-workers, anyone. Video chat with 10 people at the same time. Send secret messages, translate multiple languages, and you get free app messaging available only on the Digicel network. It's your call, so make the most of it with BIP. Stay connected, start living. Get bipping. Download BIP today.
It's not Toolfest at A.L. Thompson's, but it's almost as good. Toolfest has been an annual 2-day event since 2009, but because of current events, there will be no live demos. But that's okay, because what will be at Not Toolfest is the deepest discounts of the year on select hand tools and power tools for 3 weeks. Save big on tools by Makita, Milwaukee, Bosch, Skill, Dremel, and other power brands, and get 15% off all items in the tools department now through July 4th. Remember that Father's Day is June 21st, so give them a big boy toy from A.L. Thompson's during Not Toolfest.
Radio Cayman's Business Buzz returns to the air on July 14th at 7:30 a.m. COVID-19 has impacted every business differently. Some were able to shift to remote work model, while others adjusted operations by offering curbside delivery, online services, or simply remained closed. As businesses reopen and adjust to the new normal, we here at the Business Buzz will be doing our part by featuring various business industries to keep you up to date with initiatives, development, and topics from the local business world. Join me, Sabrina Turner, on July 14th for the Business Buzz, right here on Radio Cayman.
We are here for you. Whether you are in extreme financial need, have lost your job, have been directly or indirectly affected by the pandemic, we are here. The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan is here to assist through the Cayman Islands Government Emergency Withdrawal Program. To withdraw, visit chamberpension.ky and complete the online application form by filling in your personal details, the amount you wish to withdraw, and upload a notarized government ID such as your passport or driver's license. For information as it happens, visit chamberpension.ky or follow our social media pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. We thank you for your patience as we address the high volume of email and phone queries. The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. You can count on us.
Hi, this is Danny Coleman, Director of Hazard Management Cayman Islands. We are now in the hurricane season, and for information on how to prepare and stay safe, please visit our website, www.caymanprepared.ky. Some top tips to bear in mind, given that we are still in the midst of COVID-19. Please make sure you have a mask and sanitizer, you have food supplies to last for 3 to 5 days, a portable radio, personal hygiene and sanitation items, and medical supplies, and any other specific items your family may need during a hurricane. Make sure you know where you will shelter in the event of a storm. If you have pets, please make sure provisions are in place for them too, as the majority of shelters will not take pets. Please visit our website for more tips and tricks on www.caymanprepared.ky or call us on 945-4624. Stay safe, Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, and welcome back. What's fine? Do you want to share, engage, perhaps evoke some of the sentiments from many of the other listeners? Well, 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. And if you need another number, well, 949-6990. That's a request line that you can always share. The WhatsApp is there too if you want to record a voice note or you want to send it through. But it's just, if you call the WhatsApp line, you cannot get through on the air and talk to us. So voice notes, or you send through something that you type. That's 925-3261. Just before the break, the elegant lady called and asked the question, why is it that the mark is being missed? Why are we missing the mark? Well, in the last few weeks in particular, that we were sort of experiencing this ordeal together uh, as we looked around the world and recognized that similar things are transpiring. Maybe many of us had an opportunity to exercise because we had time on our hands. Perhaps we had time to go into the kitchen and experiment. Perhaps, because of the time in our hands, we had time to stop and engage in artistic endeavors, whether we were painting or writing poetry or, doing other things. The creative things that got us thinking and considering their actions in the past, what we would like to do for the future, what is it that's happening now and how it is happening the way it is. Should it be, you know, that way? Questioning the legality from a constitutional perspective of government's actions, not just our own, but across the globe. Questioning whether or not we truly value and appreciate the freedoms that we have, the opportunities that exist for business, for socializing, and the like. Maybe even questioning whether we are true champions for, the uplifting of society. And with that in mind, I offer to you what I sort of distill from all of that, and you share with me. Now, my ethos is very, very, you know, um, I think an easy one to understand. I would like to see all of us prosper, not just financially, but have good health. I'd like to see us as a unified society that recognize that we are different. We are different in so many ways, but we are more alike. And if there are 140 or 1,400 different nationalities here, hey, the more the merrier. We get to learn from each other. But we also need to have a society that very clearly, and very, very, very consciously, without question, very consistently, ensure that people understand that there are certain things that will not be tolerated in our society. Things like littering in our streets or dumping things because they are on vacant properties or somewhere up in, you know, fairly isolated places, whether it's the dikes or other places. But some of us no longer seem to even worry about that. Look, in some areas, we drive and we see, discarded appliances. Now, there isn't, to my knowledge, any announced, government sort of annual bulk waste campaign. Now, there was, you know, an endeavor to start that earlier this year, and maybe some people assume that that's going to happen, and maybe they have knowledge of it before it's been announced. It's even possible that it could have been announced, and all the information that we receive, I've missed it. But we know that people do that because they, out of sight, out of mind. They take it from their backyards or from their kitchens or living rooms, and they just drive it, somehow in their vehicles and just toss it along the roadway. Well, maybe a society that doesn't do that, but also a society that you can have those things removed without it being so expensive that you find another way around it. Perhaps you also have a society that understands that laws were going to be, enforced, but enforced fairly and equally, to all and sundry alike. Doesn't matter who you are, what job you have. The fact is that if you broke a law and this is the consequence, well, you can expect to receive the same punishment, irrespective of who you are. Is that the society that we have? If not, what will it take to get that society? And then when we look, at those things, perhaps we look at our laws and we say, well, that's a rather foolish law. Why should there be a law that says you can't, walk your cow on a Friday afternoon after 3 p.m.? No, there's probably not a law in our books like that, but maybe there is an archaic law similarly, if not here in other places, but since this is where we live and work. But what about other things? Social behaviors and norms. We're not going to expect to pass laws for morality or necessarily, nor for, you know, sort of encouraging people to have a sense like the what is, a matter of conscience and the like. But are there things that we could and should be doing? 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. I'm going to answer the substantive question, but I believe, if I'm not misunderstanding, we have a call online. Miss Susan, is that what I'm gathering? If it is, tell me so that I can ensure. And to answer that question, then perhaps to look at the reason that we're missing the mark, maybe in our society, we're not as, you know, united as we could be. Perhaps we don't have a clear consensus as to what we should be. Perhaps there is not the level of clear communication as ought to be and as we think exists. So when we look at the people in our society, the categories that you know affect and influence their daily life, our health and well-being, do we have people who share, what we think as a caller reference, sort of that Cayman psyche and ethos. So if we look at just three areas initially, areas where we may want to consider, healthcare, or education, and our, loosely speaking and all encompassing as possible, our justice system, the prisons, the enforcement arm, whether that's police or other enforcement agencies, the judiciary, from those who also bring things before the courts, as well as those who, sit in the courts and pass judgment and sentences and the like. So, sort of wide overarching justice system label, the education and the healthcare. Do we have people, in there in sufficient numbers that represent the country, or whether they have been born here and have ancestral links, whether they have acquired status, whether they're on, some other means of employment through immigration control, the work permit or the like. Do the people who are employed, in those, three areas, do they reflect and represent an ethos that is indicative of the Cayman spirit? Or is it that they have, adopted, maybe because of their education and personal experiences, maybe because of, where they were, what they say, reared and now have come here as adults? Um, do they exhibit some other semblance that is perhaps unfamiliar to us? Now, doesn't mean that is wrong or is bad, but take for instance, if you live in a society and perhaps some of us have visited some of those places where you could put, your bicycle down in a public place and no one would even consider touching it unless it was to, move it out of the rain and put it under a sheltered spot. Maybe the society has a system of public bicycles that you ride it, from point A to point B. There's no charge, and you put it down, and someone else picks it up and rides it back to another area. But there's no question that the bicycle is going to be stolen, the serial number is going to be filed off and repainted, whether it's going to be shipped overseas somewhere or, just moved about within the community. Something as simple as that, a bicycle that may, have cost just a few cents, but it's allowing the populace to perhaps have another avenue by which to, move about the community. Well, would we have that in our society? Do you think those bicycles would last? What about, well, you having a yard sale, for one of a different word? Have we visited societies where the person who's selling the fruit or the household items, puts it somewhere in the yard or near the front boundary, and as passers by come and go, they look at what they want, they select it, and there's another box or basket, some kind of container. They put the money in there and they move on. Next person comes along and, sees the money there, sees the goods, and says, "Nope, I don't want either." And there's no question that the money is going to be taken or the goods is going to be taken without the requisite payment. Now, would it surprise us that those societies perhaps still exist? They're not just small towns, but perhaps large, metropolitan areas. Now, if we did that in Cayman, what do you think would be the outcome? Was it ever like that? Now, if that is, one of those things that you say, well, really, that's not practical, we have to encounter that and incur that as a cost of progress. Well, it's not really progress, is it? In our society, is it a place where you don't have to worry that your safety and security is at risk because you're walking alone at night, male or female, or you happen to be driving in and for a second, something happens to your vehicle. The person who's stopping isn't there to harm you, but to help. Now, is that the society that we have? If not, what would it take? Well, let's pause shortly, take a break, and invite you to give us your opinion. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Green Turtle, modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
Oh gosh.
Don't let the stress of taking care of loved ones get you down.
Home care, now made easier with Cayman Medical Supplies. 100% Caymanian owned. Cayman Medical Supplies now stocks a wide range of home care supplies. Hospital beds, all types of wheelchairs, including beach access wheelchairs, lifts, commodes, shower chairs, walkers, Curad brand orthopedic supplies. Free blood glucose monitors with the purchase of 1 pack of test strips, blue underpads, and a whole lot more.
Need home care convenience? Drop by Cayman Medical Supplies at 93 Smith Road, Windward Center, or call 949-6211. Free delivery.
We know there has been a lot of changes, and Cayman Medical Supplies is here for the community. From gloves and sanitizers to mandatory supplies, including masks. Hours are now Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. till noon. Free delivery island-wide.
When interacting with domestic violence offenders,
be aware, most perpetrators act out what was modeled for them and have not developed effective interpersonal conflict resolution skills.
Listen and realize that if a perpetrator discloses offending behavior, there is shame involved. If an offender is telling you there's a problem, they're taking a great risk by doing so and are showing trust in you.
Try not to judge. Instead, encourage them to seek professional help.
Advise them. If you think the situation is volatile, encourage them to find temporary accommodations away from the survivor.
And be honest with the domestic violence perpetrator. If he or she blames the victim, remind them that domestic violence is never okay.
For more information about domestic violence,
contact the Department of Counseling Services on 949-8789 or the Department of Community Rehabilitation on 949-1693 in Grand Cayman or 948-1521 in Cayman Brac.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States.
Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, seaboard.
Cineco is pleased to announce that our offices in Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac have reopened to the public. Cineco will be open to serve our valued clients from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. until further notice. Recommended physical distancing and enhanced sanitization procedures have been implemented in our offices, and visitors will be required to wear face masks for the safety of all concerned. On behalf of the Cineco team, we look forward to serving you.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us as we invite you to be part of a discussion. Now, a quick reminder that Monday is a holiday. We celebrate Constitution Day. We won't have any talk today. There won't be, for the record either. God's willing, we'll join you back on Tuesday. Now, the press briefing is slated for 2 o'clock-ish. When it happens, going to take it to you live. We'll do the news break if possible. But still a chance and a time if you want to take the opportunity to call and share your thoughts with us as well. During the break, a quick caller, he called in, he said, listen, wax poetically all you want, be as philosophical, but the problem is that we have to face the harsh reality. We have, ineffective leadership to date, unwillingness to make hard decisions. And one of the biggest challenges that we're facing is that we don't seemingly either A, we don't have a growth management plan to look after one, the infrastructure, as well as our population and our human capital development. And he questioned whether there is a strategy for that. And if it isn't, are we questioning whether there may be a different narrative? I asked him if he was referring to this notion that maybe there is some social reengineering taking place. I think the fact that it was a short break, he may have, as I accused him, bailing, so we're not called publicly. But again, just want to engage in a banter. But his quick passing comment was that we have grown our population too quickly. Not only have we increased the number significantly, but we've increased it substantially in a very short period of time, which, as I understood his sentiments, and if I apologize, he can message me back, then I'll clarify. He said, listen, we can't, support our infrastructure can't support the number, and then the people themselves haven't become acclimated. Let's go to the phones, though. Welcome, good afternoon, and thanks for calling.
Good afternoon to you, Sterling Dwayne.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for sharing with us.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. Earlier on you're speaking, I'll just speak briefly on it. I know you don't have much time to break. About enforcing laws and so forth. We saw recently what happened. There's a hideous and heinous crime being every day, where we have people riding around on these dirt bikes, off-road bikes, not insured, not registered, not licensed, or nothing, and without lights at night. And when the police tried to enforce it, and who came out being the bad guy was the police. So I don't imagine the police will be trying to apprehend them anymore. And we soon the police came out with egg in their face, was saying, and so forth. And this is what happens to us when you have a serious problem. You have to address it in a serious, harsh way. And we're not willing to understand or realize this. And there are some laws that are impossible to enforce. There are a couple of laws. One is the health insurance law. We know that. There's nobody's going to go and arrest some Caymanian because he works for himself. And he's not employed by anyone, goes around, does maintenance, carpentry, plumbing, whatever, painting. And if he has to go to the hospital, he or she, they just pay cash. Technically, they're breaking the law. It says this is the law. So, they're unenforceable laws. That one is silly, and it should never have been. The pension is the same thing. But that's it about that, Sterling Dwayne. We hear a lot, and I know a lot of people are interested in this, or quite a few, I won't say a lot. When we speak about independence, it's necessary for people to understand. I was speaking this morning to OC, but I know he didn't have much time. That we're talking about political independence, which is independence for the people to make their own choices and decide on how the country will be run. And the elected members, representative, the elected government would be in total control of the country. Complete total control. They would be over the police force. In fact, even judges they could choose and so forth and so on. And they have the choice of everything to tell the people of the country and to say how it's being run. It's a big difference. And many people might be quoting the Constitution, which would be irrelevant in an independent country. Our Constitution is written for a colonial type of territory, which we are. It's written an agreement with the Great Britain, the Strategic Power, and ourselves to give us so much latitude and so on. God bless that and how much we've got. And the only way you can tend to go independent is by pushing that Constitution
All right. We do
forward.
Yeah.
I
don't wish
to do that.
Right.
But if we are not willing, you'll have to write a new Constitution if you decide to try to go independent. That's completely new one for independence. And also you'd have to, if you're going to do it by referendum, you can. We don't have district councils. That could have solved the problem of going with a referendum. And then you have to set a date and have elections due, because the people who are now elected, if you went independent tomorrow morning, they are no longer relevant in that independent nation. You'd have to have new elections, a general election, or all these things people have to be told about. It's a matter of informing the people.
Yes, civics education. I always engage, but respectfully, we have the news. If you want to hang on, that's fine. Just let Miss Susan know. The briefing is going to happen when it happens, and we'll take it when it does. Please stay tuned.
Brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man. It's only two species that we have, on Island.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio K-Man's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Department of Commerce and Investment wishes to advise current holders of liquor licenses without a trade and business license to submit an application to the Trade and Business Licensing Board before August 31st of this year. Effective October 1st, 2020, all liquor license holders are required to have a valid trade and business license along with a liquor license to sell and distribute intoxicating liquor. Contact the Department of Commerce and Investment for trade and business licensing information at 945-0934 or email info@dci.gov.ky. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has ordered face coverings to be worn in public as coronavirus cases rocket in the state. The directive applies to counties with 20 or more COVID-19 cases, which covers most of Texas's 254 counties. Texas hit a record of more than 8,000 virus cases in a day on Wednesday, up from about 2,400 2 weeks ago. And for millions of Americans, celebrating 4th of July comes with certain rituals and traditions. Parades, public fireworks displays, and large family reunions are some of the most popular ways Americans mark the nation's independence from Britain in 1776. But this year is set to look a little different. Parades are going to be cancelled. There are secret fireworks, virtual events, places are closed, protest and politics, and ultimately, well, the celebration is kicking off on the 3rd and not the 4th. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
For the latest in news and information,
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Green Turtle. Modern solutions to get you through the new normal. Download the Green Turtle app now and top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination. Home delivery of laptops, tablets, phones, accessories, and iTunes and major online retailer gift cards. And now, home deliveries of groceries and courier service. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit their list of products at greenturtle.ky or download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Just a quick reminder that the briefing is going to be on momentarily, and we'll take it to you as it starts. So as you call and share your thoughts, we ask now that if we interject and sort of ask you to leave us there so we go to the briefing, please don't take it as any slight. But there's some time to share another thought or two with us if you wish. 949-8037. Or a toll-free call at 1-800-534-8255. And if those numbers elude you, well, 949-6990. We try to make it as best as we can. We're diligently working and hoping for another avenue, but maybe that'll materialize, soon come. Well, what's on your mind? You want to share your thoughts as we go into the holiday weekend, recognizing that this Monday, this holiday is Constitution Day, not another until, get it celebrated. So let's go to the phones. Welcome, good afternoon, thanks for calling.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, Dwayne.
How are you, my friend? How are you today?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm blessed and very, very thankful.
Awesomeness, bro, awesomeness. I just happened to get in my car and I kind of just heard your last caller there, and there was something that he said that I don't know what. If you're discussing something or anything, I just turned it on a few minutes ago, but I did want to pick up on it. Yeah, I did want to take up something that he mentioned, or what he started out saying, which was the notion. I think it was that thing surrounding the local police and the ombudsman ruling that excessive force was made, and then he made a very broad general statement that I think perhaps is worth discussing given the times, not so much particularly locally, but certainly overseas.
Globally?
In regard globally, certainly globally. But specifically in North America, where we see the incidents surrounding the views surrounding police and the use of force, and the fact that hundreds of, I think it was in New York, policemen resigned because the chokehold could not be used anymore. And so as a result, they resigned. I just think it's important that we put the local case in perspective, because that's crucial. And while I know Mr. Earlson makes a valid point in that regard, or something to consider, I think it's important that we highlight that there's a difference between the enforcement of the law and being the executioner, if you will. I think the way that I see it through my lens is the police is there to get you in handcuffs at the end of the day, and it's for the courts to execute whatever the law lays down in terms of the penalties or judgments or what have you. And that's a great, great difference. Now, are there people who are hell-bent on evading the law, so they'll fight police officers and the whole nine? Yes, and so police obviously won't have to protect themselves and have to use some reasonable force in order to try to get that person subdued. I think where you cross the line is after that point. So if you have a man or a woman, because some ladies can be quite violent themselves, on the ground, for example, and you have, 1, 2, 3 police officers on them, restraining them. If you manage to get handcuffs on them, that should be the end of it. We saw what played out before us. The world saw somebody killed before our eyes, and it's certainly not to that level, thank God. But at some point, it can be, and we don't know people's minds, and so police officers have that fine dance while in the midst of it, I'm sure, because it can't be easy if you have somebody who is violently resisting you. But there's a strong balance that's going on there, perhaps. I don't know how they do their tactics in them. I don't know whether they have one officer who's standing off, who's actually observing the whole thing and say, hey, that's enough, or, you push here or go here or hold this leg or whatever. I don't know how they do it. So, because when you're in the frenzy, sometimes you're not thinking and you're not realizing the impact that you're making. But the point that I'm trying to make is you have to have the fine balance between enforcing the law and executing the law, if you will. And obviously, having the ombudsman rule is a good balance to help the police to reevaluate themselves, not to then cry spoiled milk because I don't allow you to keep your knee on my neck, to use the North American analogy, or don't allow for you to put 2 more shoes in me while you have me in handcuffs already, or to give to punch me in my face while you have handcuffs on me. There needs to be that balance, and having somebody who is able to evaluate the details that's before them and make a judgment is crucial. And there should be no reason why a police officer should feel any other way. They should feel good if they're about serving the law and making sure that they're not crossing.
What you shared, right? I appreciate you, helping us as a public to have these discussions, right? Because that particular incident here, as you said, if we're not careful, well, it could become worse, either because an officer or the arrested person is injured further. But there are 2 things that strikes me. One is in policing, generally speaking, and I'm glad for the police officers retired, those here and elsewhere who said that we have to be mindful. Just speaking generally, they were just speaking generally, that we don't move away from the mantra of policing to protect and to serve. And the father of sort of modern policing in the UK, his mantra, as we shared a number of times with us, that the community is the police and the police is the community. So with that in mind, on a local basis, to what extent are we employing sufficient metrics to ensure that the police that we recruit and train have all these great skill sets? Because they have to be the best equipped and trained, I think, of all, just like our teachers, in the situations that they have to encounter to de-escalate a situation. Now, in the US and probably in other parts, is policing becoming sort of this urban military zone, and the tactics become more like commandos, military commandos.
Right.
Again, Sir Robert Peel's notion, and then perhaps in this particular instance, given the ombudsman's ruling, we probably recognize a community that has become frustrated with the seemingly lawlessness on our roads, the unlicensed and uninsured vehicles, the riding of unlicensed and unlicensable vehicles. But if the police seemingly, again, from press releases and police commissioners' comments in the past, seemingly didn't pursue these vehicles, what prompted this particular pursuit during this particular time when there wasn't seemingly many vehicles on the roads, right? And if the ombudsman's ruling is say, hey, we leave it to the police commissioner to sanction appropriately, is that sanction effected? Is it going to be effective? Is the officer now suspended and taken out of uniform because it's going to look bad and maybe discredit the rest of the office? I don't know, right? And is the public comment and outcry to be heeded, or will we be victimized for just even questioning this behavior? It's a lot to be considered.
Right, Dwayne. I think you said quite a mouthful there in the midst of the whole entire dance, if you will. I think you said something that was crucial that stuck out, and I think has to be applied at all times. It's the whole notion of, Jesus, it just came to mind, or de-escalating the situation. So the training is crucial. And some situations, and I imagine every situation becomes unique for all intents and purposes, unique to the individual. But as a broader sort of consideration, I imagine the police force. We say we get the elected officials that the country deserves, whatever that means. But I'm going to apply that same thinking along the police force. So I would like to believe that in the Cayman context, and speaking about Caymanians, we know ourselves. I can't talk about the other nationalities that are here and where they're from and what policing they're used to. So somebody, for example, in a much more comes from a much more aggressive, volatile police force may expect that kind of thing. But generally, for the Caymanian, even our very violent Caymanians for the most part, sometimes it's in the approach. So sometimes de-escalating it long before you get there. Obviously, we saw one example played out in the public recently where it seems like not even reasoned, and he's a Caymanian, he was on the run, not even reason sometimes can get them to subdue. Again, I don't know the interactions even that we had, because I also know that individual, and I'd like to believe that if approached in the most decent of manner, sometimes they will, at least engage you long before any sort of violent situation start. I guess what I'm trying to say is situational.
My friend, quickly, because the thing is about to start now. I do apologize for that. Oh, there you go. Apologies. Let's go to the briefing, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us at today's coronavirus press briefing. I'm Caroline James in for Donna Bush. Welcome to our viewers on CIGTV, YouTube, Facebook, and our listeners on Radio Cayman. We begin today with a prayer from Dr. P.J. Lawrence.
Holy God, we come before your presence. We praise your holy name. You are our Creator, Redeemer, Healer, and Helper. We thank you for your protection during COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you for our leaders who are doing an outstanding task in keeping the islands safe. We pray for our leaders and health workers. We pray for the eradication of COVID-19. We pray for your protection from hurricanes. We pray for all the residents that we may continue to cooperate and keep praying for all people and nations and the whole of creation. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
We welcome our panellists this afternoon, His Excellency the Governor, the Honourable Premier, the Honourable Minister for Health. In the room with us, we also have the Chief Medical Officer and the Director of Hazard Management, along with our sign language interpreter, Miss Carolyn Powell. We also welcome our members of the media, our members from the Compass, the CNS and Radio Cayman, along with the Medical Officer of Health. Let's turn first to Dr. Lee for his update.
Good afternoon. I have 316 results to give today, which all of them are negative since yesterday's release. So our total remains at 201 people who've been positive in the Cayman Islands, with 3 of those being on Cayman BRAC. There are no symptomatic people, 6 asymptomatic people, no one is admitted, and 194 have recovered. There are 63 people in the government isolation facilities and 23 people on home isolation. In the last 24 hours, there have been 5 people seen at the flu clinic, of which 3 had mild flu-like symptoms, and 13 calls to the flu hotline, of which 1 was flu-related. Mentioning testing, you'll probably have noticed that the testing numbers have dropped a little, especially over the last week. we're continuing to call and ask people to come for testing, but they are not necessarily inclined to come. So I would please encourage you, if you are called, to please present for testing. It's really important that we continue to screen the population to make sure there has been no outbreaks that we could potentially put a stop to. So I would appreciate your consideration of that. As far as the antibody testing is concerned, we have done 994 antibody tests, of which around a third of these have been done at the Health Service Authority. Sorry, beg your pardon, 2/3 at Health Service Authority and a third at Health City. Of those, we have been calling forward a lot of people who were PCR positive previously, as well as doing a lot of healthcare staff. And so this is not a sample that's representative of the population. There will be more people that are positive in this group that we've called forward, these 994. There have been 41 people who are positive for the antibody test, of which 33 were known to have been positive with the PCR test. There were 3 further that were contacts of people who were previously positive on the PCR test. 5 people had no history of being positive on PCR. Additionally, there is somewhat confusing but nevertheless reported widely elsewhere 9 people who are negative for the antibody test who had previously been positive for PCR. That's around 20%. And we know that that has happened. There are a number of reasons for that. One possibly being that you don't mount an antibody response. 2 is that your antibody response is mounted, but there's subsequently you can no longer detect the immunoglobulin G that we're looking for. And 3, that the test has not been sensitive enough to pick up that particular antigen that's in the blood for that test. I've previously talked about how the antibody tests are each one between some of them there are differences, and I've talked previously as well that some look for the nuclear protein and some look for the spike protein, and there are different sensitivities looking for those 2 different proteins. Overall, that gives a 4.1% positive rate, but as I mentioned, this is not a sample that's representative of the general population. It's already a selected sample where we're likely to have a higher rate. But as previously described, the rate of people who are antibody positive is exceedingly low, which suggests that COVID has not been as rife as we might have thought amongst the population. And in fact, this is much in line with many other countries finding the same, that even though there is a significant disease rate, it hasn't actually spread that far into the community, despite the fact it's giving a lot of sickness and unfortunately deaths as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. I know we have questions from members of the media. Caymanian Times, Mr. Ralph Lewis, I'm sorry I missed you out the introduction earlier. You can go first with your question for Dr. Lee.
Good afternoon, Dr. Lee. Hope you had a good week, and thank you for your presentation. I have 2 brief questions. The first one is about the number of tested cases. Of the 24,000 tested cases, are they all separate individuals, or there are some that have been repeated from individuals?
I think that's previously been reported. There are repeats because as we go back round to test, we are doing certain groups repeatedly. So, for example, healthcare, nursing homes, the prisons, and so on, frontline workers are having repeated tests, so that it doesn't represent individual people. Some people are being tested multiple times.
Okay, so I think, can you give an idea of how much individuals have been tested?
I don't have those results written down on my piece of paper here today. I think the Cayman News Service reported that around a week ago because they asked for the figures and I provided it to them. I have a feeling it was somewhere in the region of, well, I think the figure that I gave them was, it was something like 10% of them were repeat tests, so 90% were individual, but I'd have to go back to look at those figures.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, have all the Cayman Brac cases been resolved or recovered?
The Cayman Brac?
Yeah, have all the positive cases in Cayman Brac recovered?
Yes, a long while ago, yes.
A long while ago, okay, so the Cayman Brac is virus-free?
We hope so, yes, we believe so.
Okay, that's it for me for today. Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you very much, Ralph. We have questions from other members of the media. We'll go to Wendy at CNS.
Thanks,
Caroline. Hello, Dr. Lee.
Good afternoon.
Can I just check? You said that 9 people who were PCR positive were negative for the antibodies. Is there have you been recording dates? So, for example, perhaps they were people that were tested very early on, which may give some indication as to the fact that antibodies fade away, perhaps. I don't know. I just want to know whether you had any timelines on when those people were tested.
I don't really have the details that you're seeking, Wendy. I'm sorry.
Okay, can I send a question and ask some of these?
Please
I've got a few more that are a bit like
send
that.
it to the Government Information Service, and they'll do their best to answer.
Okay, great. Thank you. Also, you were talking about people not turning up for tests. Is there a specific group or sample group that you're doing at the moment? And also, has there been consideration to just simply opening it up to all?
In fact, on the gov.ky/coronavirus site, it is possible for anybody to register through that site to get tested now.
Okay.
So we would be keen for people to come forward in order to continue to manage the screening program at this time.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Wendy. Kayla at the Cayman Campus, if you can hear me, go ahead with your question.
Oh, I don't have any questions for Dr. Lee. I'll wait for the
panel. Okay. In which case we will hand over to our panelists and we'll turn first to the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Caroline. Happy Friday, everyone. It's been a week since the last press briefing, and during that time we've continued with our aggressive testing program and have seen more than 1,600 tests carried out with very low positive results, and those that have tested positive have all been asymptomatic. This is excellent news as we continue to reopen our economy and society. Our plan has always been to wait at least 2 weeks between reopening phases to see what the effects of each reopening have on our community. It has now been 2 weeks since we ended all curfews, saw more people returning to the workforce, increased the number of persons who can gather to 25, reopened our churches, cinemas, theaters, and beauty salons. While for the time being we remain at level 2 minimal suppression, I'm very comfortable moving to the next reopening changes that will come into effect on Sunday, 5th July. These are educational institutions and facilities, including summer camps and vacation Bible schools. All these may commence full operation, including social and sporting activities. However, I should just note that sporting activities do not include contact sports, which are planned to start on the 19th. In Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac, restaurants and bars will be able to offer both indoor and outdoor services. Each table can now be 6 feet apart. Persons at a table can now be seated 3 feet apart. That is, persons who are not members of the same household. Servers and front of house staff must continue to wear masks or cloth face coverings while serving customers. Persons will be able to exercise in a strata gym and public gym from Sunday, and my 2 sons will now finally leave me alone on that point. Persons wishing to travel from Grand Cayman to the Sister Islands prior to traveling must notify the Medical Office of Health of the proposed travel and be tested for the virus. Again, persons are reminded that they will only be permitted to travel to the Sister Islands after receiving test results which have been declared to be negative by the Medical Officer of Health. Some good news for our students, parents, and others who will be traveling over the summer direct from Cayman to the UK. The UK government has announced today that there will be no need to quarantine once you land. Very grateful to the governor and all the others who have lobbied so hard on behalf of the overseas territories. All 14 British overseas territories have been exempted from quarantine in the UK. I'd like to thank Sterling Ebanks, our representative in the Cayman Islands Government Office in London, and his colleagues as well for the job that they have done in helping to lobby the UK government for this exemption. The Governor will shortly speak to the 72nd anniversary of the UK's National Health Service and the stellar work they are doing to save lives. I will not steal his thunder, but I do wish to recognize the Caymanians who I understand work in the NHS in the UK. A 2017 NHS study reported that there were some 40 Caymanians who were working in the National Health Service in the UK. So if you're a Caymanian working in the NHS or know of Caymanians working there, please encourage them to get in touch with us by emailing info.cgo@gov.ky or via our website www.caymanconnection.org so we can personally thank them for their hard work and dedication. And travel time, I'd just like to remind everyone that travel time went live on Wednesday, 1st July. Other than those traveling to the UK, anyone wishing to travel to, from, or within the Cayman Islands, whether by air or sea, are asked to reconfirm their intentions and desire to travel at www.exploregov.ky/travel time. Those who are traveling to or from the UK will continue to do so through the Governor's office. The travel time team is actively working on repatriation flights. Flights currently scheduled include 3 flights to Kingston, Jamaica on the 4th, the 9th, and the 11th of July, and 2 flights to Miami on the 8th and 10th. And there's a flight to London, another flight to London on the 31st of July. I would add that there were 2 flights that left from Miami today, as well as a flight through London for persons returning to India. I'd like to give an update on the government's program supporting businesses, and in particular the Micro and Small Business Grant Program. The Cayman Islands Center for Business Development, under the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure, began accepting applications for grants to the micro and small business sector in April. To date, 950 applications have been received. $1,076,000 have been paid to applicants, with a further $414,000 approved for payment. Of the 950 applications received, 84% have been processed, with 178 business owners receiving full payment of $3,000. Based on the number of approved applications, the total funds so far committed by the government to the program is $2.6 million. With a 97% application approval rate, the Micro and Small Grant Program has sought to ensure that all businesses that meet the criteria are given access to these funds. The Center is now moving to introduce a digital application form which will be rolled out later this month. The Low Interest Loan Program. There have been 65 applications for participation in this program, with a total value of $2,221,000. 5 have so far been approved, with another 5 currently being assessed for approval. The total value of loans at the approval stage is $415,000. For the benefit of those applicants who are unable to adequately present their financials to the bank, the government has also implemented a technical assistance program where qualified accountants have been employed to help prepare these documents at no cost to the small business owners. This program has so far worked with 32 loan applicants, helping them prepare their financial statements and business plans. The Center has conducted 5 training webinars over the period, with 350 persons in attendance. Business advisors at the Center will now move to introduce small group trainings based on an assessed need, with primary focus on helping small businesses to pivot in the current business environment. Entrepreneurs, micro and small business owners interested in support should contact the Center for Business Development at 244-8009 or via email at cicbd@gov.ky. I want to commend the team at the Center for their tremendous work at this time. And we are delighted that although it's been slow initially, the take-up is now starting to really move along. And I want to conclude this part of the briefing with a shout out to Miss Miriam Williams, who will be 80 years tomorrow, 4th of July. Happy birthday, Miss Miriam. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back with you all again. I agree that the test results remain extremely encouraging, and we have no major cause for concern as we make further relaxations under suppression level 2. And I think it does confirm that we have successfully shielded ourselves from the pandemic, which sadly across the world is accelerating. We have 10 million cases, 500,000 deaths, and I was struck by the fact that 60% of those cases have appeared in the last 30 days. And clearly the situation in our closest neighbour remains worrying in the US, and we're watching that very carefully. I think it's also worth saying that countries that have dealt with this pandemic successfully, like Cayman, have done 3 things really well. One is clear, calm and compassionate leadership. The second is strong public health systems with increased capacity to respond, and we've really done that very well with our testing, the isolating cases of contacts as well, and all of that based on good science with strong input from our Chief Medical Officer. And then I think the third thing is individual responsibility and all of society participation in the social distancing, the basic hygiene, and wearing masks in public. And I think everybody is making a big effort to keep that going. I think it's worth saying that COVID it remains a marathon. It's not going to be a sprint. It is going to be with us for the foreseeable future. We have to live with it until we get a vaccine. It's encouraging. There are 17 vaccine trials underway, and Oxford University in the UK remains the most advanced. But all of us will need to transition from what I would call an understandable state of anxiety to empowering each other to adopt the essential prevention measures, the social distancing, the basic hygiene, wearing masks in public. We all need to be disciplined about those because they keep each of us safe and they'll keep our community safe. And I thank everyone again for their cooperation. On quarantine in the UK, Premier has referred to that. I think this is really good news, and I'm delighted that Cayman is included in the list of countries and territories whose citizens do not need to self-isolate for 14 days on arrival in the UK. And as the Premier said, for our students and families who are going to the UK, that is excellent news. It is just worth saying that that is not, of course, reciprocal. So anybody coming here from the UK will be required to go into the government isolation facilities for 14 days. On evacuation flights, today's India flight, as the Premier also mentioned, has gone ahead as planned. Over 270 Indian nationals are going home on that flight today, and about 50 people, compassionate humanitarian cases, going back to London from here as well. It's been a fantastic Team Cayman effort, but I do pay tribute to the small team in my office who've had to work incredibly hard on this flight, which has been probably the most challenging we've had to do, dealing with the Indian authorities, dealing with Qatar Airways and British Airways, and some very last-minute issues to sort out with UK Border Force. But I'm pleased to say everything is going ahead. And I would also just like to clarify that my office and the new travel time team will be working closely together on the BA Airbridge flights to and from London until the end of August. And as I've previously announced, my office is planning to run flights on the 31st of July and the 28th of August to enable students to travel to the UK to commence their studies next term. Now, we've already been in touch with those students who have previously expressed an interest in these flights, either via the emergency travel line or via a large group of students who are being coordinated by Mrs. Carolina Claiborne. So these passengers will be contacted directly by staff in my office once booking commences, and they do not need to register again. But if you are a student or family travelling with a student via these BA flights and have not received an email this week, please send details of passengers and your preferred flight option, 31 July or 28 August, and confirmation of your acceptance from your school or university to UK student travel at gov.ky, UK student travel at gov.ky. That is set up just for these BA flights. And travel time continues to lead on all other flights, as the Premier said, including for students going to the US and Canada. And travel time continues to lead on the isolation facilities and in terms of who can come back to our islands. But I do want to just point out, if passengers wish to return to the Cayman Islands on the two BA Airbridge flights, you now need to register with www.explore.gov.ky/travel time. The Premier mentioned the NHS, so I don't think I need to say too much on that, but let me just say that on Sunday, the 5th, it's the 72nd anniversary of the NHS social care system in the UK, a truly beloved institution. And we just want to say a thank you to the Caymanians who work in the NHS. We do believe there are about 40 of them. So on behalf of the UK, let me thank them for the contribution they have made to what has been an extremely difficult situation in the UK managing COVID. And then finally, I just want to wish everyone a happy Constitution Day on tomorrow, but we obviously have the public holiday on Monday. Last year, Celebrate Cayman did a fantastic job celebrating the 60th anniversary. It will be a little bit more muted this year, but no less important. And I believe Cayman enjoys an extensive degree of self-government and has a really strong, mature and constructive relationship with the UK, thanks in great part to the pivotal role the Premier has played in that in recent years. And I think that is something we can celebrate on Constitution Day, and I wish everyone a long weekend. Thank you.
Mr. Seymour.
Thank you, Caroline. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy long weekend. Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, and our Caymanians overseas listening in as we celebrate on Monday, our Constitution Day, as mentioned, which commemorates our passing of the first Constitution back in July 4th, 1959. Scripture reading today is from Psalms 139, 23 through 24. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is an offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Thank you. Happy birthday today to Reagan Forrester, Miss Cynthia, Geraldine Scarlett, Judy Ann Morgan, and MLA David White. Happy birthday to you all. And his twin brother, Chris.
That'd be
Yes.
great offense if you didn't say that.
Yes. Today I wanted to focus a little bit on we need to ensure we invest and in our millennials and our generation Y, born between 1981 and 1996. The millennial generation is known for their strong sense of community, both on local and global scales. They normally focus on large societal needs rather than individual needs. They're the most civic-minded generation since the 1930s and 40s. They are highly educated, self-confident, tech-savvy, and ambitious. This generation, ladies and gents, are the future leaders of the Cayman Islands. Let's ensure they're not forgotten and also to recover from this pandemic. As I've said before, a Benjamin Franklin quote, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn." When I say I'm a Christian, I'm not shouting that I'm living clean. I'm whispering I was lost but now found and forgiven. When I say I'm a Christian, I don't speak of this with pride. I'm confessing that I stumble and need Christ to be my guide. When I say I'm a Christian, I'm not trying to be strong. I'm professing that I'm weak and need his strength to carry on. When I say I'm a Christian, I'm not claiming to be perfect. My flaws are far too visible, but God believes I'm worth it. When I say I'm a Christian, I still feel the pain and sting. I have my share of heartaches, so I call upon his name. When I say I'm a Christian, I'm not holier than thou. I'm just a simple sinner who received God somehow. Maya Angelou. Everybody is somebody, even a nobody. Firstly, I want to give you 2 quick updates today. Remind our local artists of the Artist Relief Grant. The National Gallery, in partnership with the Ministry of Culture and the private sector, are offering a one-time artist grant of $1,000 per artist. 20 grants are available on a first-come, first basis. To qualify, artists should be reliant on their artwork as their primary source of income and should be experiencing significant loss of income due to the pandemic. The deadline is the 24th of July, 2020, and the form must be fully completed and signed to qualify. Artists should contact the National Gallery for more information and to apply at administration@nationalgallery.org.ky. Artists are a huge part of our storytelling heritage, so I am happy to support this great initiative. Secondly, I want to speak quickly to the subject of mosquitoes, as I've received a few queries in this regard. The mosquito creating the irritating situation felt across the island is known as the black salt marsh mosquito. The first thing to note about them is that they are not disease-carrying, but we do know that they are very annoying and making life very unpleasant for many of us. In fact, they are referred to as the nuisance mosquitoes. It doesn't help that those mosquitoes are strong flyers and will travel many miles from the water in which they were produced. Females can easily fly several miles in search of blood. I want to remind the public that Mosquito Research Control Unit has been surveying and treating the production sites in emergent, flying and biting mosquitoes throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. They have done so whilst, and most importantly, ensuring that personnel and staff adhere to all proper precautions related to the risk of COVID-19 transmission. Though MRCU has tried not to allow COVID-19 to impact their service, like the rest of us, it has influenced and impacted operations to some extent. Despite limitations in the airport operation hours, the aerial team has worked closely with the airport operations to continue flying at this time. Aerial and ground operations both have been impacted by high winds this month that made spray operations impossible. Additionally, aerial operations were briefly paused due to the extreme Sahara dust situation, but resumed last Friday as dust conditions improved. I want to assure the public that MRCU is working hard to help eliminate the problem and will continue to do so. I encourage the public to wear environmentally safe mosquito repellent as well as to help to repel the mosquitoes. Also, I wanted to, as has been mentioned, further words to the Excellency and the Premier. I would like to suggest we show our appreciation and thanks to Caymanian healthcare workers by also taking a moment to clap, which will be recorded. I understand there will be a clap in the UK at 5 p.m. on Sunday. So this recording will be played on various social media channels at 5 p.m. on Sunday so that we are clapping along with all those clapping for the NHS. I thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Minister Seymour. Thank you to all our panellists. We'll start with questions from the campus. Kayla, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I just have a few questions today. And, you know, as restrictions ease and we all get out and about, I know a lot of people are thinking about what comes after this in September. And I'm wondering what advice we would give students who study in the US or the UK right now if it's advisable at this time for them to consider returning to hotspot locations like the U.S.? And if we have any advice for those young people.
Well, I don't know if I can, or whether I should try to advise parents what to do about their kids. I shouldn't call them kids, but I call my 28-year-old my kid, so don't take offense, anyone. But if it were my children, I would have them stay in Cayman at least until the end of the year and see what happened. I wouldn't send my children to the UK or the US in the current environment. You asked me, I told you.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I was wondering. And parents,
Just
of course,
add, I think would like to just add to that in the context of the UK. I mean, I think the UK and US situations are different. I mean, the UK is coming out of this and is getting a grip on it. Leicester is clearly an area where they've had to lock down. I think the UK is opening up and doing so in a measured way. But I agree with the Premier that it's up to parents to take their individual risks. But I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with sending my children to the UK at the present time.
And I must also caution, if I can, that you never know, there might be a surprise of a vaccine or something that comes on in the next couple months, and it depends on the situation in the U.S. if they take some aggressive measures to clear this up. So it's a wait and see game. Really, it's fluid, and we just need to pay attention to what's going on.
Well, in the mention of the vaccine, the governor discussed research in different locations in the world earlier. What is a reasonable time frame for the public to have in mind to expect a vaccine?
I would say, I mean, I see the U.S. saying that they'll have one by the end of the year. I'd safely say at least by January 2021 before we see any light of it, from what I've been seeing and hearing.
Jumping off of the topic of students traveling, we've seen some other Caribbean islands open up to international travelers, Jamaica, Antigua and Barbuda. Are we observing the lessons learned from those islands? Are there lessons to be learned from their experiences? And are we still hoping to welcome international travelers in September?
I think the answers are yes and yes.
Definitely, we have to pay attention. We're paying great attention to what's we don't want to reinvent any wheel. We're definitely paying attention to what's going on to us in the region and in the U.S. To definitely, we can learn from them. We see some mistakes they've made already that we won't do. And when we talk about September 1st, there's a lot of discussions going on in the Premier's ministry and Minister Hughes' ministry and otherwise, and trying and also with Danielle, in terms of trying to find methods for us to be able to open our borders in a safe way, and that there's a lot of discussion to be had as to how we do that. So there's no clear blueprint as yet as to how we open this country and what route we take.
And so I just get my questions here. I also wanted to get a quick answer from the governor about repatriation flights. You mentioned the India flight today and the air bridge to London. Are there any other repatriation flights that your office is working on right now? For example, Nicaragua, Jamaica?
I mean, we're still in close contact with Nicaragua, and we have been asked to provide all the details of the passengers who want to go to Nicaragua. So there's work going on process try and secure that flight. But at the moment, we still do not have agreement to send a flight to Nicaragua. I think my office is involved in the BA flights, the organisation, and any negotiations with foreign governments. But a lot of the other flights, Jamaica, for example, Miami, that's sort of Cayman Airways and the travel time team.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Those are all of my questions for today.
Thank you, Kayla. We'll go over to CNS next. Wendy.
Thanks for that, Caroline. Just a quick one for the governor regarding this. You did say there is no reciprocation regarding the quarantine here. I was just wondering how clear that's been made in the UK, because there are tons and tons of news reports coming out saying that British people can come on holiday now to the Cayman Islands.
Well, I don't think you've seen any of those today, Wendy. There were some a while ago. I mean, it's very clear, and we're in no doubt of what the rules are for people coming to Cayman. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to media speculation.
Okay, thank you for that. My next question is for the Premier, and it's regarding quarantine facilities. What's the situation there now? Because we've had a few calls from people who have been told, especially the Canada situation, which was apparently all sorted for people to return, about 60 people to return from Canada to here. But we're now being told that they can't necessarily come because there isn't quarantine facilities. Can you tell us what the latest is on that, and how the RFP is going, and how government envisages sorting out this problem?
I don't know if Danielle can help with this in any more detail than I can.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I only know that the RFP is out. I don't know what the results are.
Thank you very much, Mr. Premier. The RFP has been drafted and is getting finalised now. We have expanded the room capacity at the Wyndham Hotel as well as the Holiday Inn. So, yes, there's still a shortage. We do understand that a lot of people want to come back, but again, it's making sure that we get the appropriate facilities for that.
Danielle, has there been any consideration, because I think some people are concerned, some people want it to happen and others are very concerned about it, which is the idea of self-isolation for people coming back?
Lots of consideration.
There has been a lot of consideration on that. Again, we have been researching different methods for some time. I have not been involved in the latest methods. I'm not sure if Dr. John wants to talk to that, but again, it's a sort of a risk assessment. We want to make sure that we get it right. At the end of the day, you know, if by chance self-isolation at home doesn't work, and we create a surge of cases here on the island after doing so well, it really is one of those things we have to balance up. And again, we're not quite there yet to make sure that the risk outweighs the actual potential harm of doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Wendy.
I appreciate that. Sorry, let me flip over. I think that's all of my sort of quarantine questions. Oh, yes, for the Premier again, people are saying, I don't know how true this is because I haven't rang it myself, because it's just been a few emails today. People are saying they're having difficulties getting through on the hotline to talk to Travel Time. Have all the numbers changed, or are they staying the same? Because I'm sure last week you said they were staying the same.
The numbers to Travel Time are the same. I'm just checking my note here to see if there was a number, and I don't have one. Wendy, let me check on that for you. I'll try to get it done while the briefing is still going on. I'll just send a note out to my folk and see if we can answer it before we wind up.
Okay, great. And my last question is a nice political one that you're going to like, Mr. Premier, which is yesterday when you were in the LA, you said that the CPR people had basically denied the people a vote on the poll, whereas in actual fact, they said very, very clearly in their press release that they want a referendum on election day based on the question that was agreed during this legal process. And so therefore, it would be your administration that's responsible for setting that up. So have you given any consideration yet to holding a referendum on election day next year?
No, we won't.
Sorry?
No, we won't, Wendy.
What, you won't hold it on that day?
No, I don't know whether or not the new administration whether that is a continuation of the one that I currently lead or some other, will want to deal with this issue. And in any event, what needs to be carefully thought about, which I don't think CPR have, if they thought about it, they certainly haven't said so, is that this referendum is specific to this project. So it is unlikely in the extreme, given all that has transpired, not just with respect to the campaign for the port or against it, but the completely changed environment that all of us are now living in. None of us know how that's going to come out at the end. It is unlikely in the extreme that you would wind up with this same project. And what I was trying to convey yesterday is that this is a dead duck. You know, from the government's perspective, you know, the surgery was successful, but the patient is dead. And so whoever takes over the next administration will have to decide whether to proceed with, essentially with a cruise industry in Cayman, and if so, on what basis. For I have always said, and I say again, we cannot expect to offer what we claim is a world-class service and have sort of almost primitive means of transporting the people here and no amenities of any consequence for them when they come ashore and when they are trying to re-embark. So this whole thing is going to have to be thought through all over again. And I think we can all safely say that this particular saga is at an end, unless, of course, they press ahead with the attempt to have it heard by the Privy Council, but that's not going to really change, I think, the practical outcome on the ground. What I am absolutely relieved about, as I said, is the point I've made to you and others over and over again, that far more important than the narrow issue that CPR focused on were the serious implications for the exercise of democracy in this country and the control or not that the elected representatives have over policy decisions. Whether that was going to remain where it ought to be, that is in the hands of the elected members of the Legislative Assembly, or whether that would become something that any judge, even a temporary judge, could jump into and decide to change the course of. And so we now have two decisions of the Court of Appeal which have told the Grand Court very, very clearly, your role is the interpretation of statute. Your role is not the making of policy, that legislative policy. That is a matter for the duly elected representatives of the Cayman Islands government. Unelected judges have no right to make those sort of legislative policies. One thing, whether the elected representatives are good, bad, or indifferent, whether you like what they've done or not done, you have a recourse to remove them. Once judges are appointed, unless they are found guilty of some very serious misfeasance, they are there for life in most, or for their, not life necessarily, but until they reach retirement. And so we really have, I think, benefited hugely from these two cases. And I do think now that going forward, all of us will understand what the respective roles are of the judiciary and the legislative branches and the executive branch of government, and that each of us, each branch, must respect the other and their role set out in the Constitution.
Sorry, Mr. Premier, can I just steer you back a little bit to the referendum itself? Because as I asked you're saying that you are not prepared to hold a referendum on election day on what was a much more generic question that had been agreed, I understand, during the legal process. So it could cover the principle of any cruise berthing development in Georgetown Harbour. It was generic enough. So are you saying that you're not prepared to hold that referendum on election day?
Wendy, I suggest you spend some time and read the judgment. I know it's very long, it's 41 pages.
Yeah, I have. I've read it.
Right. So you will see that the court made it very clear that this was not a generic question. They talked at length about whether or not the complaint that the government had included the enhanced cargo facilities as part of the question ought to or ought not to be part of it. This question and this referendum petition was specific to the project that was underway. The complaints were about the nature of the project and the environmental concerns that that grew up as a result of the amount of dredging, the area of dredging. Once you start thinking this through, you will understand that the whole exercise was about a specific project. And in any event, that can't bind a government going forward. That's the reason you have elections, so that each election, the people can decide on the basis of what has been said by those who are standing for election what they intend to do in terms of policy decisions. So it would be wrong at this stage in principle and for this administration to seek to go down a particular road dealing with a referendum on a project which there's no way at this stage we would even get started. So there'll be a fresh start following the next elections, and we'll see what the people of the Cayman Islands want, and we'll see what those who are elected decide to do. From our perspective, and certainly from mine, we're putting this behind us. We've got lots of other massive challenges to deal with, as I think all of us are very aware.
Okay, thank you. That's clear. I have no more questions, I don't think.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Caroline. Yes, my questions are done.
Thank you, Wendy. We'll go to Ralph for the Caymanian Times.
Good afternoon, members of the panel. Hope you had a great week. I'm tempted to follow the line of questioning that Wendy started, but I prefer to stay on point today.
I'd rather you not. It makes the governor very uncomfortable. These briefings really are to focus on COVID
yes.
and those issues. So anybody feel free to call me outside this to talk about these issues.
Yes, and as I was saying, I prefer to stay on point today. And so I have three questions for you, sir, and I'll make them brief as possible. The first one is, since you're now in charge of travel time, have you considered any flights, have you discussed any flights to Roatan to bring up some of the Caymanians who are stranded down there?
Well, I haven't been involved in the nitty-gritty of the detail. I haven't heard any pleas recently for a flight to Honduras. I know there are a few people there, but I'm not sure there are enough people there to warrant a flight by Cayman Airways. Very expensive exercise.
Thank you. Okay, my second question has to do with the work permit holders. The deadline expired this past Tuesday for those to submit their applications. And I would like to know, for those work permit holders who were unable to submit new applications, or the employers unable to submit new applications, and for those whose work permits expired, and what's the next step for them going forward?
Well, it would be the same as it would be otherwise. I don't understand why people wouldn't have gotten in there was plenty of time to get in a renewal application. So if you don't renew your permit within the period that is allowed, then you have to apply for a new permit in the usual way.
Yes, and for those who have no employment and their permit have expired, what would you recommend?
Sorry, I missed the first bit of it. Those who have?
Those who do not have any employment and their permits have expired. In other words, they'll be seeking time. What do you recommend at this point?
Well, I'm sure that work will work with them until it is possible for them to either get new employment or find a flight out that accommodates them, gets them to where they need to be.
Thank you. And my final question is regarding border reopening. We've tried to get a sense of those of Caymanians residents who are concerned about the timing of this border reopening. And our sense is that many people prefer that it would be delayed further. We've mentioned a date of September 1, which is about 7 weeks from now. Are the other stakeholders that would be involved in the tourism industry prepared for any reopening in the next couple of months?
Well, this is not the answer to your question, but this is one of the things that exercise our minds. Dr. Fauci, I think we all know who Dr. Fauci is, warns, this is today, that the new mutation of the virus that they are now seeing in the U.S. will speed COVID across the U.S. 53,000 new infections yesterday in the U.S. breaks the record set the day before. So, I mean, this is terrible news for us here in Cayman. 80% of our tourism is from the U.S. And of course, you know how Caymanians, not just Caymanians, and residents love Miami. So, you know, we are all suffering from massive withdrawal now. But we're not in control of that part of the piece, I'm afraid. So what we are worried about, seriously, is the introduction of, even if it's not a more virulent strain of the virus, because it doesn't seem to be killing people in the U.S. the way it was before, it is reported to be as much as 10 times more infectious than the original strain. So people are catching it far more easily. And it would change the way that things are playing out here if that were to catch a fire here. And I don't think any of us want to have to deal with that, given where we've come from and given where we are. I think we'd rather suffer with not being able to travel to the U.S. and not being able to have the benefit of that business for a little longer.
Okay, just one more question, and regarding the same thing. As we know, the slow season is normally during the next couple of months. September, some restaurants close down, and the tourist season really starts from November 15th. Do you think it wise that we should have a date such as November 1st for the reopening, and that we should give the airlines and stakeholders ample time to really plan, to really get things in place, to really get protocols in place? So what I'm asking is if you think that November 1 is a more realistic time for reopening for the country.
Well, we're obviously going to have to make that decision relatively soon, but today is the 3rd of July. So there's still a fair bit of time. So we actually have, as I announced before, we have a committee, a cross-ministerial committee that is working on a reopening plan. But no matter how good that plan is, we really can't open the borders when the virus is as rampant as it currently is, because it will mean that every flight that comes in here will be bringing some vectors of this disease, no matter how hard we try.
Thank you for
to
answering
add to
my
what
question.
Premier said.
Sorry.
You know, the planning that is going on right now, we're planning an opening without a vaccine. So obviously we know that COVID is still alive and well. Obviously, as I said earlier, there's a lot of discussion going on as to how we can open safely. And when we do, it will be unveiled. I think the public would be happy that the amount of work that has been put in to trying to ensure that, as Premier said, we don't get that strain of COVID here amongst the Caymanian population, and to try to do everything to try to protect the luxury, I would say, of the slight strain that we've had here in Cayman. So there's some stuff we're working on. Obviously, a lot of people want to know that because a lot of people's lives depend on it. A lot of jobs depend on it. And we understand that. And the Deputy Premier is working really hard, also with the Minister of Commerce, and as Premier said, cross-ministerial. So we're Ministry of Health, Dr. Lee, CMO, they're all working hard because we understand now after July 19th, that is the real main focus of how do we open safely.
I thank you for your comments, Premier and Mr. Minister. And I would say that when I heard your comment on the results, I definitely heard the bells of joy ringing. And with that, I leave you for the weekend. Thank you, Caroline.
The bells of joy.
Thank you, Ralph. The travel seems to be, one of the top questions that's coming into us from members of the public as well. They're wanting you to share a little bit, if you can, of your insights into the reopening plan. Are you considering a phased approach? Are safe corridors something that's on the table for your considerations as well?
There are all sorts of discussions. There's discussions about travel bubbles, the discussions about rapid testing, about what sort of protocols, because the truth is we really need to test the person at their place of origin. There's no point in flying them here, testing them and finding they're positive, and then what do we do with them? The plane's not going to take them back, so we're going to have to put them in some facility. And we clearly can't accommodate hundreds of more people, and there'd be hundreds of people coming every day. So we've got to actually test them outside the Cayman Islands at their place of origin. Working out the protocols around that, essentially you'd have to have a longer check-in time than the usual 3 hours or whatever it is. So you could do the test, get the result, get on the plane. Then you come here, and then what do we do with you? Dr. Lee he didn't tell you about it, but he's trialing one of these fancy gadgets that will send information to a central location that says, whether your temperature is spiked, whether your respiration is still okay or abnormal. Triggers that would ask public health, would tell public health we need to have this person tested to see whether or not they have the disease or not. When they come, are they allowed free reign around the island, or are they, at least for a short period, only allowed within a particular? All of those kinds of things are being considered about how we can safely do this. Also, long-term residents or people who will come and stay for more than the usual 4 or 5 days, which I think is the usual range that people come for a visit. How can we get them back? Because of course they provide a greater opportunity for us to be sure about, because of the length of their time they're here, whether they are safe or not. And we'd like them to come back quickly, because they will also provide us with an opportunity to see how well this can work, rather than the hundreds of people that come once you open the borders and the commercial flights come back on a regular basis. So all of these things are being talked about and knocked around. Believe you me, government is as anxious as any hotel owner, condo owner, or small business owner to get tourism back moving. But we can't risk what we have in terms of public health. in the process. I mean, I shouldn't say we can't risk. There will have to be some risks taken in any event, but they have to be risks that we believe are manageable. Not risks in saying, well, we pray and we hope. You know, it can't be that sort of a approach to it.
Well, thank you, Caroline. And I just want to add to what Premier said. A lot has been learned so far. And there's a lot of research going on behind the scenes. There's a lot, as I tell you, there's a lot of discussions going on, very mature discussions going on. I'm quite satisfied with what I've seen so far and with the options that are out there on the table. And it will only get better because we still have 2 months to see what's going on around the world, next door, and around in the region, to see what challenges they're having. And, you know, with all these new discoveries going on, there's a new discovery every week. So we have the benefit of being at a very comfortable place right now in what we think can actually work with testing persons before they come to the Cayman Islands. There's guidelines as to how many days you would test a person before they actually catch a flight. And there's different methods that you can do that other countries are doing right now that we're learning from, and some very useful information out there. And I feel very comfortable that we'll be able to open. And when we do open, because of our patience in waiting until September 1st, unlike many other Caribbean and countries in the region, July 15th and July 1st and some June 15th, that we'll be able to learn a lot from what's happening in the world, and I think we'll be safe to open, whether it's September 1st or October 1st, whenever it is. And I don't know the difference I know about the season. I can only tell you now that there's almost no slow season now, because many years ago, let's say 35 years ago, September, October were the slow seasons, and most airlines failed to come. They would pause their flights. Now, what you've had, I know definitely some American airlines like Delta have just started flying nonstop and never take a break. So it's like no slow season, which is a good thing for us in the Cayman Islands. So I can only say to you, it hasn't been unveiled, but there's a lot of good information that the CMO and the other teams are working on that will make the process as easy as possible, but as safe as possible for persons coming to the Cayman Islands. And once they're here, we'll also be able to monitor, in some sense, as to persons who are presenting certain symptoms, etc. So I think that's all I can say for now. But I think we're on a good track.
Thank you, Minister. My second and final question comes to us from Hurley's Media for the Premier. They're asking if you can kindly share some insight into your discussions around the 25-person limit on gatherings and whether that's something that might be relaxed in the next phase, or whether we should just start getting used to more permanent sort of caps on large-scale events.
I see Dr. Lee getting up to ready to expound on this issue.
Dr. Lee is showing us his chest. So we're all getting a bit hot under the collar.
I wasn't going to answer your question.
That's all right. You can go ahead. We'll ask it afterwards.
So good afternoon, everybody. This is your delight for the holiday weekend. I thought you might like to see the device that Premier was talking about. So this is what's called a bio sticker, and it's monitoring my temperature and my pulse and my breathing. It's the sort of thing we're thinking of trialing to see whether it might assist us in really being leading edge in how we monitor people that are coming to the island. So just thought you might like to see that.
Yeah, I almost had one, but I had to get the Premier's approval first.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Could you help with the question about how long the limit on gathering to 25 would remain, and whether it would be possible to lift that in the next few weeks or?
I think so. That's difficult. As we move towards the accepting visitors to the country, as that will bring its own challenges and the regulations may need to be changed again. So I feel we need a more comprehensive discussion to take into account that challenge associated with the gatherings, which would clearly need quite a bit of discussion. I mean, if we are just to stay as we are, I would feel we could relax that now. But yet, rather than switch and change, if we're about to accept visitors, then we may wish to actually continue some of these restrictions in order that we limit the exposure to the threat of anybody that's arriving. But if it was just in Cayman, again, things like lifting the restrictions on visiting nursing homes as well, I would consider that too. But combined with the other challenges we're going to face, I feel that needs a wider discussion.
Thank you.
Well, I know the question is going to come, so let me ask it in any event. So we're not sure when we'll reopen. Could we increase the gathering number?
I feel...
even though there'll be complaints maybe if we have to restrict it again. But yes.
I mean, I feel, yes, we're getting there. It's with a great deal of comfort we're seeing continued low rates of infection. So.
Thank you very much, both. We'll go last but not least to Radio Cayman. April, go ahead.
My questions actually are for Dr. Williams. A number of people I've spoken to had put off a lot of, because they had to put off medical treatments for various reasons because they weren't critical. Have you seen any increase in requests for services from HSA for medical treatment? Are we experiencing any backlogs or delays as yet? And then also, could you comment on the immunization catch-up program that we got a press release about today?
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, with the reopening of services, we have seen an increase in the number of requests for appointment. And we actually are reaching out to some of these patients. The appointment was canceled for a reason to reschedule them, both at the hospital, the primary healthcare, and the dental services. When it comes to the immunization, I said it came a press release, we are ready. We have gone through the process now of updating our national immunization records. And now we are in the process to start contacting the patients to do the catch-up. So all the public health nurses are now focusing on this. The number of COVID cases are less, so the number of patients that we are actually doing contact tracing for COVID is less. So right now we have a little bit more time to focus more on vaccination and immunization problem, and immunization program in the Cayman Island. So the press release that came out today explain in details, or not in detail, but explain what is our plan. And we're definitely going to be able to catch up within the next month or so with all our immunization practice here in the Cayman Island.
So for people who may have put off even requesting appointments because they're concerned, even if these are not critical matters, do you encourage them to go ahead and get in the queue to get treatment, or should they kind of give hospital officials a chance to sort of catch up?
No, they should still contact the appointment clerk, and an appointment will be made. We already started, especially in primary health care. I think I will encourage them to attend the primary care physician to get assessed and to make sure that all the chronic conditions are up to par. All the investigations that need to be done are up to date. And if they need a referral for a specialist, that will be done as well. We're trying to get back to normal. The appointment will take a little bit longer now because of the backlog and all the measures that we have in place to prevent any COVID infection. But we are trying to get back to normal. So we'll encourage the patient to contact their healthcare provider, the appointment clerk, to make an appointment now at the HSA.
Thank you so much, Dr. Samuel. And just one last question. If the Premier could speak to sort of, it's been a week since we've talked to you about this, but how do you see how things are going? You seemed positive but tired, if I were going to characterize how you sounded at the beginning of the press conference.
I don't know if you can call it tired. It's well beyond that, but it's not so much the physical tiredness, which it is a constant strain, but and it's not just this, it's the EU, it's the domestic partnerships bill, it's Wendy, it's all of these things. But no, I'm actually in a very, very upbeat mood about most things. Things are really going incredibly well considering all, and we're still having to work incredibly hard, but that goes with the territory. And I really believe we're going to come out of this as a much stronger jurisdiction than we were before. As I've said before, I mean, I think some serious thinking is going to have to go on about a number of things. The cruise industry is one among them. Tourism generally. How do we manage? We don't know how long this crisis is going to go on, because even after you open the borders, it can't be life as normal as long as the virus continues to be a major threat. So a great deal of thinking is going on, and we still have to manage all the other business of government as well. So yeah, there's a reason why I might appear tired, but I am very positive and very upbeat. I have been for the last couple of weeks, even after the fact they kept me at the alley until 11 o'clock last night. I'm still feeling good.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you, April. Thank you to all members of the media. Any closing thoughts, Minister?
I just wanted to say, as part of our strategy, we have some innovative technology. As you saw, Dr. Lee exposed himself there. Removed the shirt. But we think that this can be a key part of developing a safe and thoughtful approach, much better than most in the region. So this will be announced pretty soon. Thank you.
All right, we'll leave it there then. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. A reminder, you can check out gov.ky/coronavirus and all of our social media channels for the latest information. There's no scheduled press briefing next week, but we'll bring you any details as and when we need to. And in the meantime, stay tuned to check out those latest regional and global coronavirus statistics. Thank you.